Hey, good morning, everyone. It's star date July 11th, 2025. I'd like to call the meeting to order. My name is President Garcia. Good morning and welcome to the California State Board of Optometry's public meeting. I want to ask all of us to please turn our cell phones to silent. We have a designated time on the agenda for public comment and ask for a public comment on each agenda item. I ask that you be respectful of the time needed to conduct the board's business. The meeting is available via teleconference. However, the board is webcasting the meeting as a courtesy to the public, and the meeting will continue even if the webcast fails pursuant to the notice given on the agenda. Individuals listening to the meeting will have the opportunity to provide public comment and will be assisted by the moderator who will be facilitating the teleconference process. For those members of the public participating via teleconference, please wait until the moderator has introduced you before you make your comments. Each person will be limited to 2 minutes per agenda item. The board welcomes public comment on any item on the agenda, and it is the board's intent to ask public comment prior to the board's taking action on any agenda item. If for some reason I forget to ask for public comment on the agenda item and you wish to speak on that item, please raise your hand and you will be recognized. Today's meeting will be run according to the Open Meeting Act as required by law. We plan to end today by 4 p.m. As we now do at each meeting, before we do roll call and call the meeting to order, I would like to state our mission, vision, and values. The mission of the California State Board of Optometry is to protect the health and safety of the California consumers through licensing, regulation, education, and registration. Our vision is to have the highest quality optical care for the people of California. Our values are consumer protection, integrity, transparency, professionalism, excellence, and diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. Member Bragg, will you perform the roll call?
Member Clemens?
Present.
Member Dawson?
Present.
Member Sue? Member Kleppa? Dr. Pruitt?
Here.
Dr. Wong?
Here.
Dr. Bragg, present. Vice President Linden?
Here.
President Garcia?
Present.
Quorum?
Okay, we have a quorum. Thank you. Agenda item number 2, public comments for items not on the agenda. The board welcomes public comment on any item not on the agenda. The board will extend 2 minutes to any speaker to speak on any topic that is not already on the board for today's discussion. Is there any public comment for those in the audience? Yeah, I see 2. Is
Is it on? Beautiful. Thank you. My name is Ruby Garcia. I'm the Executive Officer of the California State Society for Opticians. We'd like to thank the board, Officer Greg Pruden and his staff for the licensing process that we're experiencing, especially that occupational analysis that has helped us understand the job functions of an SLD, CLD, and optometric assistants. We'd like to also thank Adele Burns, our Deputy Apprenticeship Director, who encouraged this apprenticeship program, and our Governor, Gavin Newsom. With his progressive thinking and his forward thinking, he's brought the jobs and education together for our apprenticeship program. And we'd like to acknowledge the CISO apprentices who are on WebEx this morning because they like to learn about all of you, the licensing board. And like that wandering albatross birds who spread their wings 12 feet, we have 12 CISO board members that consist of optometrists, licensed opticians, and apprentices. We have designed these fun dances to help our apprentices through those difficult optical concepts. We rap sing, we spell out King Tut to help them memorize the ANSI standards. And for that reason, we think we've increased the passing rate for those who are required from 40% up to 98%. We're celebrating that this fall. We're reaching 89 apprentices who will enroll to Chabot College, our apprenticeship program, where they're going to earn 21 units of college credit. And we thank Lucia, Maya, and Sarah at Chabot College because now they're going to open up a 2-year Associates of Science degree at Chabot College for our apprentices. And so for that reason, our team is asking me to go off and start the museum. And Ari Serwin, who is studying to be an attorney and will be a licensed optician this year, has some more fun updates.
Thank you, Ruby. Hello, and thank you for your time. My name is Ari Serwin, and I am here representing CISO, the California State Society for Opticians. I want to briefly share a few exciting developments from our optician apprenticeship program. By September, CISO will be launching a new continuing education initiative with both in-person and online options. Our goal is to support the lifelong learning and professional development of opticians across California. Our continuing education program will allow corporations to submit courses that target areas they believe need improvement within the industry, helping opticians stay current, feel empowered to deliver exceptional care, and keep advancing in a field that is always moving forward. To ensure quality and balance, our CE approval process will involve a diverse forum: 2 optometrists, 2 ophthalmologists, 2 licensed opticians, 2 unlicensed opticians, and 2 public members. This structure reflects our commitment to inclusivity and transparency as we build meaningful educational offerings for the field. We're also deeply invested in ensuring that our apprentices understand their professional responsibilities. That is why our program includes guided study through the professional codes of conduct listed on your website. Our coursework includes detailed lessons on the laws, regulations, and content related to both contact lens and spectacle lens dispensing, as we believe every apprentice should understand the standards that govern our profession. Finally, I would like to publicly thank
30
Greg
seconds.
Pruden and the board for your leadership and strengthening the licensing process. We recognize and appreciate your efforts, which have made a real difference for aspiring professionals in our program. Thank you again for the opportunity to speak today and for your continued work in supporting the growth and integrity of California's vision care professionals. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to have any public comment for items not on the agenda? Seeing none, if we can open it up for public comment on the phone or online. Moderator?
WebEx is now open for public comment for items not on the agenda. If you'd like to make a comment, please raise a hand by tapping that hand button at the bottom of the screen. Dial-in users, dial *3 to raise your hand. And for our mobile device users, you may need to hit the ellipses button, that's the ... next to your raise hand, or the ... in order to find your hand. We're going to take just a few seconds now to see if we have a request for public comment. Seeing no request, you wish to continue with the agenda?
Yes, please. Okay, we're going to move on to agenda item number 3, discussion and possible action on meeting minutes. Members, we have minutes from both 4/11/2025 and 6/9/2025, so we're going to address these individually. Are there any additions or corrections to the 4/11/2025 minutes from the members? Okay, so seeing none, I'd like to have a motion to accept the minutes as written.
So moved.
Second,
This is Dr. Wong. I'll second it.
okay. And is there any public comment from those in the audience regarding those minutes? Okay, seeing none, if we can open up for online and phone, moderator?
WebEx is now open for public comment on 3A. This is the April meeting minutes. If you'd like to make a comment, please raise a hand by tapping that hand button at the bottom of the screen. Dial-in users, dial *3. And mobile device users, you may need to hit the ellipses button, the ... in order to find your hand. We're going to take just a few seconds to see if we have a request for public comment. Seeing no request, you wish to continue with the motion?
Yes, please. Secretary Bragg, can we do a roll call vote, please?
Member Clemens,
Aye.
Member Dawson,
Aye.
Dr. Pruitt,
Abstain.
Dr. Wong,
Aye.
Dr. Bragg, aye. Vice President Linden,
Aye.
President Garcia.
I vote aye.
Motion.
Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, moving on to the second one. Are there any additions or corrections to the 6/9/2025 minutes from the members? Seeing none, may I have a motion and a second?
I'll make the motion.
We have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Is there any public comment on these minutes in the audience? Seeing none, let's open it up to the phone and online, Mr. Moderator.
WebEx is now open for public comment on 3B as in Bravo. These are the June minutes. If you'd like to make a comment, please raise a hand by tapping that hand button at the bottom of the screen. Dial-in users dial *3 to raise your hand, and we will call on people in the order we have requests. We're going to take just a moment now to see if we have a request for public comment. Seeing no request, you wish to continue with the motion?
Yes, please. Okay, now we'll go to a roll call vote, please.
Member Clemens,
Abstain.
Member Dawson,
Abstain.
Dr. Pruitt,
Aye.
Dr. Wong,
Aye.
Dr. Bragg, aye. Vice President Linden,
Aye.
President Garcia.
How about aye? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Okay, moving on to agenda item number 4, discussion and possible action of the Department of Consumer Affairs update. We have from the executive office, we have members here today, Mr. Ian Goliger, DC Legislative Analyst, and from the Department of Consumer Affairs Division of Legislative Affairs for our DC update. Welcome.
Ian, you can let us know if we got that last name correct.
It's close enough. Is working okay?
Yes.
All right. Good morning. My name is Ian Gallagher, Legislative Analyst with the Division of Legislative Affairs here in the California Department of Consumer Affairs. Thank you for the opportunity to join you today. So there's 3 items that I'll be discussing. The first item, the Governor's Reorganization Plan. In January, Governor Newsom released his proposed 2025-26 state budget, which included a proposal to split DCA's oversight agency, the Business Consumer Services and Housing Agency, into 2 state agencies, the California Housing and Homelessness Agency and the Business and Consumer Services Agency. After public hearings and review by the Little Hoover Commission and the legislature, I am pleased to share that the Governor's Reorganization Plan was enacted on July 5th. Again, the new Business and Consumer Services Agency will be responsible for consumer affairs, licensing and enforcement, and the Department of Consumer Affairs would be among the 8 departments in this new agency. The 2 new agencies will officially become operative on July 1st, 2026. DCA will participate in multiple agency work groups on the logistics required to transition to the new agency. DCA will continue to keep board and bureau leadership apprised throughout the year ahead. The second issue is the hybrid telework transition. On March 3rd, 2025, Governor Newsom issued an executive order requiring all state agencies and departments to update their hybrid telework policies for employees and increase from 2 to 4 days in office per week beginning on July 1st, 2025. At the end of June, agreements with several labor unions representing employees within the Department of Consumer Affairs were released, delaying the 4-day in-office requirements by 1 year. DCA continues to host biweekly meetings with board and bureau leadership to share information and answer questions. And the third and final item I'll be discussing is travel updates. On June 9th, 2025, the Department of Finance issued guidance for out-of-state travel in the upcoming fiscal year. Travel outside California will be limited to essential travel that is required to conduct state business, meaning requests should only be made for mission-critical needs. DCA distributed a memo to all boards and bureaus on June 16, 2025, detailing the criteria for mission-critical travel, including but not limited to enforcement actions, revenue collection, statutory requirements, auditing, and litigation. Additionally, all requests must be provided to DCA Budget Office 8 weeks in advance to allow for review by DCA, agency, and the Governor's Office. If there are any questions, please contact your assigned budget analyst at DCA. We would also like to remind board members and staff of our collective responsibility to always allow work to minimize the cost to the state through responsible travel planning and scheduling. To best serve the public, it is incumbent upon all of us to ensure that we are being fiscally prudent in our decisions, especially when traveling for board business. DCA is reminding members and staff to evaluate if a rental car is always necessary versus ride-sharing services. Carpooling is also highly encouraged when renting vehicles. We know that there may be new travel costs board members are experiencing as well, such as baggage charges. So please keep receipts to ensure that you are reimbursed. If you have any questions, please reach out to memberrelations@dca.ca.gov so that we may assist you. And that's all I have for you all today. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, unfortunately, I can't really expand on much of this, but I'm more than happy to take any questions any of you have and get them back to you as soon as I can.
Any questions from board members?
Ian, I think that baggage is in regards to Southwest and their baggage. So just so the members are all aware, that's what
Yeah.
I think that's about. But thank you, Ian. Appreciate that. Thanks for
Thank
being
you.
here.
Thank you, Ian.
all.
Item B, Budget Office Fund Condition. Members with us from the Budget Office are Nicole Dragoo, Budget Manager, and Brendan Vu, Budget Analyst. Ms. Dragoo and Mr. Vu will present the board's revenues, expenditures, and fund condition. Welcome.
Good morning. My name is Brendan Vu, and I'm the budget analyst with the DCA Budget Office. I'm here alongside Nicole Dragoo, Budget Manager. I want to thank the board and the executive staff for allowing me to present on agenda item 4BI, the board's expenditure projections and fund condition statement. First, I'm going to start with the board's expenditures, attachment 4BI, page 1 of your materials. These projections are based on actual data through fiscal month 11. This report includes 2023 to 24 actual expenditures in green, as well as 2024 to 25 budgeted and projected expenditures in blue and orange. As we move to the end of the document, you'll see the board had a beginning base budget of a little over 3.8 million and is projected to spend a little over 2.9 million, creating a reversion to the board's fund of approximately 824,000 with a reversion percentage of 21.66%. The next document I'll be going over is the board's revenue projections, attachment 4BI, page 2 of your materials. This report includes receipts collected through May and projected revenue to year end. I will go further into these projections as we transition to the next slide. The next document is attachment 4BI, page 3 of your materials. This is the board's fund condition statement. As a reminder, we read this document from top to bottom, left to right. The left column is the board's prior year 2023 to 2024 actuals. It shows the board began 2023 to 24 with a balance of 1.765 million. The board collected 2.787 million in revenues with 331,000 from initial license fees, 2.15 million from license renewals, and 306,000 collected from the issuance of citations, fines, delinquent fees, and other revenue. For current year, 2024 to 25, the board projects revenues of 3.306 million with 414,000 projected from initial license fees, 2.621 million from renewal fees, and 271,000 from the issuance of citations, fines, delinquent fees, and other revenue. The board's 2024-25 expenditures are based on the governor's budget with FM11 projections at 3.338 million between authorized expenditures and direct draws to the fund, leaving the board with the fund balance of approximately 2.899 million or 8.1 months in reserve. The budget office will continue to monitor the board's revenue and expenditures and report back to the board with monthly expenditure projections as we continue to close fiscal months in the current fiscal year. A few things to note of the board's fund condition. The fund condition is a snapshot in time. One of the main factors driving expenditure increases in future years is a result of personal service adjustments. These include general salary increases, as well as employee compensation and retirement rate adjustments. The budget office includes a conservative ongoing 3% increase to expenditures on the fund condition statement to account for these ongoing incremental adjustments. You will also notice revenue is projected static in the out years. I would like to also note to the board that any future legislation or unanticipated events could result in the board's need for additional resources, which could create a cost pressure on the fund. The last document we have is attachment 4BI, page 4 of your materials. This is a mock fund condition statement for the board's references. This fund condition statement shows the 1111 Department of Consumer Affairs future expenditures with a scenario based on the governor's budget with FM11 projections. This scenario includes a 5% growth factor for budget year and ongoing. This highlights that if the expenditures remain similar to the last 2 fiscal years, then this estimate would reflect how the board's months in reserve would compare to the previous fund condition statements, which projects the board spending it to its full appropriation. This allows the board a visual to showcase that if the board continues to spend relatively similar, the board's months in reserves will substantially increase when compared to the standard fund condition statement display. The budget office will continue to monitor the board's fund condition statement and keep a clear line of communication with the board's executive staff for any future needs or expectations. Again, thank you all for allowing me to present at today's meeting, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any questions from board members?
I have a question. Not as a board member. Could you explain for the board a little bit about fiscal month 13? Because the reason why I ask is the numbers we have here are through fiscal month 11, which I believe is May. And then we have June, which is not accounted for here. There is a point in time in June where we sort of cut off accounting, right, to close out the fiscal year. And then I think we have transactions and events that occur after that, and they get captured in what we call fiscal month 13. Can you expand a little bit about how that works? And the reason why I'm asking is because we won't see a full picture of how our budget actually was for this last fiscal year until these activities in fiscal month 13 are accounted for.
Yes, of course, we'd be happy to expand. So accounting closes the books at the end of fiscal month 12, about a week prior to the end of June. And throughout July, they work to resolve any matters that are still pending, which could result in more expenditures. It could also result in credits. So fiscal month 13 comes out mid-August. And at that point in time, we will have the actual numbers to provide the final fiscal year 2024-25 numbers to the board.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So as you see, I think right now in the fund condition, we're projecting a small deficit. It's about $32,000, I think. But we'll see what happens in the next, month and a half or so. Those numbers will likely change around a little bit. And we'll see where we actually end up, when it's all said and done. So expect at the October meeting to have the full picture of what that fund condition looked like for 24-25 in terms of actuals. One of the other things I wanted to just point out is if you look at the renewal fees line item, if you look at both the actuals 2.15 and then the current year 2.621, again, these numbers will shift around a little bit, accounting for fiscal month 13, but that is very much in line. That additional revenue capture is very much in line with what we projected we would capture when we raised the fees effective July 1, 2024. So while we still don't have a full year since we've done that in terms of the data that's been captured, it is encouraging to see that we're tracking consistent with what we had projected. So I wanted to just offer that comment on the fund condition. And then again, thank the budget office for including, again, I think this is now our third time, including the mock fund condition. I find it to be very helpful from a visual perspective to see what do the numbers show us? What are we actually spending? What do we think is a realistic number that we're going to spend in the years going forward? So I just wanted to give a shout out to you all for continuing to indulge me in including the mock fund condition in our packet. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any questions from members in the audience on our budget report? Seeing none. How about online?
WebEx is now open for public comment on the fund condition. If you'd like to make a comment, please raise a hand by tapping that hand button at the bottom of the screen. Dial-in users dial *3 to raise your hand, and we will call on people in the order we have requests. We're going to take a few seconds now to see if we have a request for public comment. Seeing no request for public comment, do you wish to continue?
Yes, please. Thank you. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brendan. Thanks, Nicole.
Great reports. Okay, we're going to move on to agenda item number 5, petition for reinstatement.
Yeah, I think at this time, council, I'm looking to you. We have a time certain start of 10. It's 9:54, 9:55. Should we take a few minute break to let things get set up here at the dais and then reconvene right at 10?
Sounds good.
Okay.
We're back in session. Okay, so we're all here today for petition for reinstatement for Mr. Erasmo Soria. Okay, and I believe all the necessary people are here for the hearing today. The Judge.
Ready, Ms. Till? All right, we're on record, excuse me, before the California State Board of Optometry to review the petition for reinstatement of Erasmo Soria, board case number 420-2025-000088. Office of Administrative Hearings, case number 2025-050-506. May I have our court reporter state her name and CSR number for the record? All right, thank you. May I have the appearance of the Deputy Attorney General?
Megan Bright, Deputy Attorney General. I'm appearing on behalf of the Attorney General pursuant to Government Code Section 11522, representing the people of the state of California. I'm here to assist the Administrative Law Judge and the Board of Optometry in fact-finding. My role is not adversarial, but is intended to protect the public interest. I'm here to ensure that the Administrative Law Judge and the Board of Optometry have adequate information from which to make a decision. Thank you.
Thank you. And may I have the board members identify themselves for the record, starting with the member furthest to my right?
Joseph Pruitt.
Uni Linden.
Member Garcia, Jeffrey Garcia.
Stacy Bragg.
Martin Dawson.
Lillian Wong.
Alex Clemens.
Thank you to the board. And Mr. Soria is present. You are representing yourself, correct? All right. Well, good morning to you again, sir. Mr. Soria, we had the chance to talk off record about the procedure that will follow here this morning. As I stated, Ms. Bright from the Attorney General's office will provide an overview of your case and present your petition for the board's consideration. You'll then have the opportunity to testify under oath, to offer documents into evidence if you wish, and to call any witnesses, although you indicated you won't be calling any witnesses besides yourself, okay? Correct. All right. Mr. Soria, do you have any questions for me before we begin?
No, I know that we need to get started.
Okay. If you do have any questions at any point during the hearing, let me know. I can't give you legal advice, but I may be able to help you understand or explain why we're doing or saying certain things, okay? All right, so with that, Ms. Bright.
We're going to start with the exhibits. What has been previously marked as Exhibit 1 is jurisdictional documents, which consists of the notice of hearing and proof of service. We ask that Exhibit 1 be admitted for jurisdictional purposes at this time.
Any objection, Mr. Soria?
No.
All right, Exhibit 1 is admitted for jurisdictional purposes.
What has been previously marked as Exhibit 2 is a certified copy of a petitioner's registration and license history. We ask that Exhibit 2 be admitted for all purposes at this time.
Any objection?
No.
Exhibit 2 is admitted for all purposes.
What has been previously marked as Exhibit 3 is a petition for reinstatement and supporting documents dated August 7th, 2024. We ask that Exhibit 3 be admitted for all purposes at this time.
Any objection?
No.
Exhibit 3 is admitted for all purposes.
What has been previously marked as Exhibit 4 is a copy of the board's previous decision and order in this matter. We ask that Exhibit 4 be admitted for all purposes at this time.
Any objection?
No.
Exhibit 4 is admitted for all purposes.
And finally, what has been previously marked as Exhibit 5 is a copy of citation number 420-2024-000-355, issued April 29th, 2025. We ask that Exhibit 5 be admitted for all purposes.
Any objection?
No.
Exhibit 5 is admitted for all purposes. Mr. Soria, you also appeared this morning with, I think it was about 4 or 5 documents We were unable to make copies of those before we began the hearing, although I'm told that the board staff will be able to make copies of those. What we're going to do while we're waiting for that is to submit the materials for the board's consideration. They'll be able to look at them during our hearing just to save time. They'll be copied and then returned to you. Ms. Bright, what I propose doing is marking the documents collectively as Exhibit 6 as respondents' supplemental materials. And you indicated that provided you are given a copy, you'll be able to upload those to Case Center later today.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you for that. All right, Ms. Bright, do you wish to present an overview?
Yes. So brief background, the board issued license number SLD 4599 to petitioner on August 23rd, 2001. The board issued registration number RDO 70559 to the Eyeglass Company with petitioner as owner on April 30th, 2024. On or about October 13th, 2009, the board issued citation number 1G2009201518 to petitioner for failure to obtain a certificate of registration for the Eyeglass Co. pursuant to code sections 125.9 and 2052. The board imposed an administrative fine of $2,500. The petitioner failed to comply with this citation. On or about September 30th, 2010, the board filed an accusation against petitioner for failure to pay the administrative fine pursuant to code sections 125.9 and 2555. On December 8th, 2010, a default decision and order was issued revoking petitioner's license. The decision became effective January 7th, 2011. On or about August 7th, 2024, petitioner petitioned for reinstatement of his license. On or about April 29th, 2025, citation number 420-2024-000355 was issued to petitioner. The citation was for holding oneself out to be able to perform licensed activities without possessing a license. Specifically, petitioner maintains advertising for being able to perform fitting or adjusting of spectacle lenses without possessing a SLD license. The citation issued a fine of $5,000 and an order of abatement. The citation became final May 29th, 2025. To date, petitioner has not paid the outstanding fines to the board for this citation. And because the burden is on petitioner, I have no further statement, but reserve the right to question petitioner.
Mr. Soria, you indicated earlier that you wish to testify this morning. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, would you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you'll give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Mr. Soria, because you're representing yourself, I am just going to allow you to testify freely in the narrative. This is your opportunity to tell the board what you think it needs to know to decide the case fairly. So I will turn the floor over to you.
Well, like I was saying earlier, I started working as an optician at the age of 17. I started from the bottom. After about 5 years of working, with the company that I started with, I managed the optical department for the Navy in Miramar for about 5 years. Then in 1997, that's when I decided to open up my own store. Let me go back. Yeah. So 1997, I decided to open up my own store. And I did it because all the places that I worked at, I always felt that I could do better, that I was better at, at getting the patient what they needed, not what I wanted to give them. And that's all I've ever done. That's all that's that's all I've ever done. So 30 years, this is all I've ever done. I made mistakes, and I'm not gonna pretend that I didn't. I'm at fault of that. And for that, I am sorry. And I know that there's penalties that are, you know, coming my way. If you decide to reinstate me, I know there's penalty and I'll pay them. I just hope that you guys, you know, give me the opportunity to continue with my career that I've loved for this 38 years. You know, at work, I talk to older people and they're telling me about how they're so excited to retire because, it just sounds to me like they weren't quite happy in what they did. Again, I've been doing it for 38 years, even when I'm, 65, 70, I'll still be doing it. I'll probably doing it less, but I'll still be doing, because I love what I do. And I've never gone to work and say, I just, another day, me, every day is different because every patient that I speak with is unique. I love what I do, and I made these mistakes, and I really hope that I get reinstated, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Soria. Ms. Bright will now have the opportunity to ask you some questions. After that, I will open it up to the board. Ms. Bright.
Mr. Soria, what do you currently do for work?
I'm an optician. I'm an optician.
And did you attend school to become an optician?
You know what? The very first job that I got, they sent me to their own school. It was a place called iTech. So they sent me to their school. So I, as far as being, going to school, I showed you my certificate as an optician. That's all I have.
Okay, and I believe that will be included with Exhibit 6 eventually. And where do you currently work as an optician?
The eyeglass company in Escondido.
Okay. And between 2008 and 2009 specifically, you owned a business named the Eyeglass Co. or Eyeglass Company.
Correct.
And at the time, you did not have a certificate of registration for this business with the Board of Optometry, correct?
2008?
Yeah.
I think at that time I was working with a business partner. It was under Lens for Less Optical, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. So the citation number 1G2009201518, which is part of Exhibit 4. So that was the citation that was issued on October 2009. And the citation alleged that you were operating a business without having obtained a certificate of registration for the Eyeglass Company. Do you recall this citation?
I do.
Okay. So is that accurate? Your business, the Eyeglass Company, between 2008 and 2009?
Yeah, I just thought about it. Yes, that would be correct.
And why did you not obtain a certificate of registration for your company?
Because I was naively, I thought that my ABO was sufficient.
And what is an ABO?
The American Board of Optometry, American Board of Opticianry.
Okay. And then in and then in 2009, there was an accusation filed against your license for not complying with this citation, correct?
Correct.
Why did you not respond to the citation or pay the fine?
I do a lot of things very well, and there's things that I don't, and this is, being in court is something that just scares me. So it's my fault, and it's just fear.
Okay. And then you subsequently received a registration for the Eyeglass Company on April 30th, 2024, correct?
Correct.
going back to the accusation filed in 2009, as a result, your SLD license was revoked, correct?
Correct.
And you're petitioning today to have it reinstated?
Yes.
And why have you waited so long to petition for it to be reinstated?
Just, I went through a divorce, I went through the pandemic. And, just like I said earlier, just afraid of this. I know that it was my fault. It's, I'm good at what I do, but again, there's some things that I'm just not good at.
Okay, so in April 2024, when you received your registration, why did you apply for registration in 2024?
I was just trying to, get this in order.
So before April 30th, 2024, when you received this registration, what were you doing for work?
Working as an optician.
At the eyeglass company?
That is correct.
Without an SLD or a registration?
That is correct.
And then in April of this year, you were issued another citation, correct?
Correct.
And that was for operating and advertising for fitting of lenses without an SLD license, correct?
Yes, I was told about that, and I got rid of all the advertising, all of it, except for one main one where, the gentleman that worked on my website, I just, to this day, I can't get a hold of him. And if you notice that, there's been no activity in the website for, well, at least 4 or 5 years, that has just been dormant because I can't find the guy that started it. So, but everything else I got rid of.
Okay, but you've still been operating
Yes.
without the SLD license?
Yes.
So why didn't you appeal this most recent citation or pay the fine?
Well, I spoke with, I don't remember I spoke with somebody where they said that that this court hearing was coming. So that's the reason I just waited for this.
And should the board decide to reinstate your license, but as a prerequisite to reinstatement require you to pay this fine, would you be willing to pay the fine?
Absolutely. Just as long as I can do it in payments, but I will absolutely pay it. Yes.
Do you have licenses in any other jurisdiction?
I do not.
And what have you done to stay up to date on the legal requirements relating to lens fitting and running an optical retail store?
Just getting ready for this date.
Okay, and what assurances can you provide the board that you will comply with the legal requirements of running an optical retail store going forward, should your license be reinstated?
When you're younger, sometimes you just don't you don't take things as seriously as you should. This is my career. This is what I do. And I'm embarrassed that I didn't give it the importance that it deserves. Again, I love what I do. I'm a father of two kids, and I just want them to see me as someone that does what he's supposed to do, not just does whatever he wants to do. And I think just being older, being a father, being a business owner, I don't think I took it as seriously as I should have. But I assure you that I am that person now that will, from now on, I will do everything that it takes so that this never, ever happens again.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you. Now I'll open it up to questions from the board, starting with Dr. Pruitt.
My only question, I guess, would be the amount of time between the initial citation to now, was there any thoughts or any consideration of addressing it any time prior to 10, was it 12 years later?
I just, like I was saying earlier, I just think I naively thought that if my ABO was up to date, that everything was fine. And then in 2019, that's when I called the ABO and I said, how many more credits do I need to, to stay afloat? Because it's every 4 years, and then you get a year extension. And then, so I called them 2019 just to find out how many credits do I need to give you for my license to be current. And they said, no, you've been suspended. And that's when this whole thing just started. I mean, being aggressive as it should be.
Thank you.
Ms. Linden?
I think one of the benefits of being registered with the state and having appropriate licensure is I think that if consumers have issues with anything, they know where to go. They can look to the licensing boards, and they can kind of see, who is this person that's providing me these services. Because you didn't have any licensure or certificates, with the state at that time, I guess I'm just curious of whether you felt like your customers at the time felt like they had any other recourse available if perhaps, something went wrong during the provision of any services.
I take pride in what I do. I've often hear this thing that, as a person, you come to a stop sign, you either slow down or you just go, or you stop. I'm always being the one that I stop. I want to, if you say to me, this was a great pair of glasses, but in my heart, I know that it wasn't my best. It maybe sounds selfish, sounds terrible, but it doesn't really matter. I don't take that compliment as anything, but if I did my very best and I know you got exactly what you needed, that makes me feel good. That I want you to have the best. And
Another question I have, I think just because there was such a long gap of time between when the license was revoked and when you tried to get the RDO and also try to get the SLD again. So I think you had just said that you thought the ABO was current
Yep.
during that time and that was sufficient. And was your ABO actually
yeah,
for how long of that
all
span?
the way till, I thought it should have been to 2019, but it was actually in 2018. Because they always say they give you a year extension, but this time, I don't know what happened, but they said, we don't do that anymore. But again, there was no email, there was no letter, there was nothing. It's just, like 6-7 months, I called them and said, no, it's been suspended.
And so between that time and when you applied for the RDO in 2024, I guess I think I'm just trying to understand, having a license and then not having it. You know, eh, I guess what did you think during that time? Maybe I should reach out to the state board and see if I need, if I'm lacking anything.
I take full responsibility for that. It was foolish on my part to thinking that, not that somehow it's going to go away, but just afraid of this. I am afraid of going to court. It just frightens me, and that was it. It's just fear.
Thank you.
Dr. Garcia?
Yeah. Well, Mrs. Soria, thank you for being here today and representing yourself. We all appreciate it. I don't have any questions, just a comment. I think clearly you were negligent in not paying the fines, not reinstating your SLD, and just not paying attention to things that are very important. As other board members mentioned, your licensing is very important in order for us to protect the consumers of California. So, that is our role. So I just feel unfortunately you didn't do your duty in taking care of your licensing. But again, we appreciate you being here today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Bragg?
Yes, I wanted to thank you also for coming in. Just the only question I have is with this most recent citation, I know Dag Bright asked why you didn't either pay the fine or appeal the citation. I'm just curious, have you been still working as a optician since that citation issuance?
Yes, I have, and the reason is I know that what I did was wrong. Again, I'm not gonna make any excuses, but to close the store down, it's just financially, I'm not at a position where I can just, okay, I'll just, stop that and I'll take care of all this, legal issues, then I'll come back and open it. It's, financially, I can't afford it. And then, that's just it. I just couldn't, I understand that I'm at fault for not doing what I should have done.
And is that the same reason that after your registration was revoked, that you continued operating
Yes.
as well?
Yes.
Okay.
It's the same reason.
And I just wanted a clarification when you thought that the ABO was sufficient to operate in California after receiving that revocation notice. That was that not clarification that the ABO certificate was not sufficient to operate in California?
No, I am gonna blame myself for that. I should have dug more into it. I shouldn't have just, just somebody said it. It was my fault. I should have looked into more into it. So I am responsible for that.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Dawson.
Hi, I would also like to thank you for being here today. Let me preface this. I'm not going to badger you. I do want to ask again, initially, why not just pay the fine? I know it was a long time ago, but as you just stated, you were continuing to work. So you were still working. You knew this fine had been incurred. You received multiple notices about it. Why not just pay the fine?
I think I did.
You didn't, sir.
Yeah, because you definitely have records of it. But because I remember the $2,500. I remember that. So I don't know.
Okay. Later on, maybe 12, 14 years later, you applied and received the RDO for the business. Did you, in effect, go around us? The license had been revoked due to non-payment, but then it seems like there was another avenue in which the business could be licensed.
I wish I was I was that smart, but I'm not. So if I somehow made it look that way, or I offended somebody for that, I am sorry. But that was never my intention to go around anybody.
May I ask what inclined you to apply for that registration as opposed to doing this process concerning the revoked registration?
I am not good with working with computers at all. Zero. But I have a young girl that's really good with that. So she's the one that started. I said, "Can you help me out with that?" She's the one that started doing all that for me. But I never intentionally try to go around somebody. That's something I would I'm just I think being honest, which I am being today, is better than anything. And so I do apologize because if it looked like I was trying to go around, that was not my intention.
And just one more time. So why the RDO in 2024, correct?
Mhm.
Why at that point?
I would
Because as you stated, you have been working up until this time without either.
Well, the big reason, like I said, I'm not good enough at working with computers, but another thing is that I knew that this was coming, that I was gonna be here, sooner or later, so I just try to, I try to, get us fixed as much as I could.
And then when the fine came on the RDO, why not pay the fine?
And that was what,
The fine, I believe it was $5,000 for the advertising.
when was that,
I think that's the one in 2024, if I'm not correct. The one that kind of started all this. the secondary fine?
Yes, that was in April of this year.
Why not pay the fine?
Because I knew that I was coming here.
Okay. Thank you.
Dr. Wong?
No, I just wanted to thank you again for coming. I know this is can be a very uncomfortable situation, and I don't have any questions. Everyone has made comments and asked all the questions that I had. So again, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Mr. Clemens?
Thanks for coming here. Quick question to the Deputy AG. Do we have any record of the original $2,500 fine being paid?
No, I have no record of that.
Okay. Mr. Soria, I appreciate your presence here today. I truly do believe that you are sorry and that you mean well. And I want to be clear that I think that we're here because of mistakes that were made and inaction rather than any ill intent on your part. But personally, I cannot support reinstatement for someone who is currently deeply out of compliance with what this board oversees. And I would think that it would be a minimum action on the part of somebody sitting in your chair to have gotten themselves back into compliance before appearing here to attempt to have this revoked. So I'm grateful you're here. I'm sorry that's my position personally to you, but I believe it's what requires my stance based on our obligation to the consumers of the state of California.
Thank you to the members of the board. Ms. Bright, any follow-up questions?
Yeah, I briefly want to get some clarification based off of some of the board members' questions. Mr. Soria, you stated that the reason for not pursuing to get your SLD reinstated earlier was because you had your ABO. And you felt that that was sufficient to establish your ability to run an optical retail store, correct?
Correct.
But your ABO was suspended in 2018, and you found out in 2018 or 2019, correct?
Correct.
So how do you justify continuing to operate an optical retail store after finding out your ABO was suspended, if that was your foundational justification for feeling that you had sufficient qualifications or protections to establish the store?
As far as qualifications, I've done it for so long that this is what I do. This is who I am. As far as not being compliant, again, I'm just scared.
Okay, in answer to another question regarding how to maintain consumer safety or have an avenue of recourse for them, you mentioned taking pride in your work and provided the analogy of stopping at a stop sign. You're the kind of person who would stop at a stop sign. Is that a correct description?
Correct.
So how do you, again, if that's how you describe yourself, how do you justify operating for all of these years without having licensure through the state and then subsequently with a suspended ABO?
Well, like I said, I did my very best so that every customer was taken care of. I don't think there's ever been a complaint as far as my work. And as far as the second part, just naively, I just afraid of being here and just this. It's again, I take responsibility for that, and I assure you that that's, people just change. People just, just you have to grow up sometime.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Any further questions from the board? All right, seeing none. Do we know the status of the exhibits, Exhibit 6 specifically? Yeah.
I could copy too, Dave.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Ms. Bright, you and I had the opportunity to review the documents before hearing. They've now been copied and made available to the board. We previously stated that we would mark these as Exhibit 6 and specify that they were respondents' supplemental materials. With the copies now having been provided to the board, do you move to admit Exhibit 6?
Yes, Your Honor. I do want to note, just based off of my review of the originals, the certified optician document or certificate is cut off on the bottom. May I please describe the original document in its full? Okay.
That's fine.
At the bottom of the document, you can see the top of it on the photocopy provided to the board members. There is a couple of stickers that were cut off from the photocopy. The one on the lower right is from the American Board of Opticianry, and it states that it expires December 31st, 2018. And then the sticker on the lower right, I'm not sure if I got my lefts and rights mixed up. That sticker is on the lower left. And then this sticker on the lower right says it's from the American Board of Opticianry, corporate seal, 1979, District of Columbia.
Thank you, Ms. Bright. Mr. Soria, any objection to Exhibit 6?
No.
Exhibit 6 is admitted. With that, Mr. Soria, the board will now convene in closed session to deliberate on your petition. You won't have an answer today, but you'll receive notice of their decision in the future, okay?
Okay.
All right, just making sure there are no further questions from the board. All right. Mr. Soria, thank you for your presentation. Good luck to you. With that, the matter is submitted, record is closed, and we are off the record.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Till, I have 10:36.
Thank you.
35, you said? All right. Thank you, Ms. Till. Dr. Garcia, I will turn it back over to you.
Okay. Thank you, Judge. Appreciate it.
Ms. Bright, thank you for uploading those exhibits.
I will. Yes, thanks.
Have a nice day. I don't think so. Thank you.
Right, okay. Yeah, the board is about to go into closed session. We're just waiting for the room to clear. Give it another few moments.
And then we'll go off, turn off the online.
This is the moderator.
Yes.
Can I get clarification on Member Sue?
Member
And
Sue
if-
is just observing, so it would, everyone, she basically closed the entire thing, only people in the room can participate. That makes sense.
That does not make sense yet.
Fine.
Do you want member Sue to be able to do you want member Sue to be able to hear the closed session?
No.
Okay.
Yes, we are coming back. David, we'll be coming back after closed session, but no one online can participate in closed session, only people in the room. So everything online should be dark, I guess, however that works out.
We are going to mute the room, and we would ask that Alex kill the video feed for the room.
Good, okay. It's 11:45. We're going to reconvene. If we can have a reestablishment of our quorum, please.
Member Clemens,
Present.
Member Dawson,
Present.
Dr. Pruitt,
Here.
Dr. Wong,
Present.
Dr. Bragg present, Vice President Linden,
Present.
President Garcia.
Present. Cool. So we have a quorum. Thank you, everybody. Okay, we're moving on to agenda item number 7, discussion and possible action on board president's report. So back at our February meeting, we discussed our current board member handbook, which has not been updated since 2019, which has been quite a while. And we asked our staff to come back to a future meeting, which is today, with a plan to revise it. Today, the staff proposes the creation of a 2-member work group tasked with the following activities. Number 1, collect, review, and analyze existing board member handbooks recently adopted by sister boards. Number 2, work with other units within the Department of Consumer Affairs, including but not limited to Office of Legal Affairs, Office of Public Affairs, and the Publications and Design and Editing team. Number 3, revise, review, and redesign the board's 2019 handbook. Next, to submit a revised draft of the handbook to the board for approval at the first board meeting of 2026. You're prudent. Did you want to?
Yeah, just to add on, I think that as President Garcia just outlined, the activities that we envision this work group conducting are achievable within this time frame. The handbook has not been updated in 5 years now. I don't think, however, there's a lot of reinvention that would perhaps need to take place. I think there are good examples of some of our sister boards that have recently undergone some handbook revisions and edits that we would be it would probably be fruitful to look toward their efforts and perhaps borrow from their good work. And then as outlined here, I think that this is a collaborative effort. As mentioned, there's sections in the handbook, for example, that deal with Bagley-Keene or Open Meeting Act, or how you put an item on the agenda, things like that we certainly would need legal counsel to assist on and make sure that the information in that handbook is current and relevant as we're bringing it forward in 2026. And then we'd like to have Erica from our team, from the staff level, be the liaison to this 2-member work group. I'll share with the group who I envision may be good candidates for this work group, and certainly want to open it up to conversations from you all, and if you have other ideas. But I was thinking that our vice president, Uni, would be a good candidate for the work group, and then I was also thinking that member Clemens would be a good candidate for this work group as well. So, but happy to hear from the members if there's somebody that absolutely wants to be on the work group. For example, we would certainly want to know that. But this is a very important document too. I think it's important that we say that. You all who have come onto this board in the last year or two have not been able to benefit from an accurate, really relevant, up-to-date handbook, right? It's outdated. And so we really envision this not just as a tool to assist you all, but again, it's really a good onboarding document to help new folks come onto this board. So I'm looking forward to having an updated handbook, and certainly want to hear from the group here if there's any other thoughts, ideas about this project. folks are excited about it. I could tell. You know, what we drafted up in the packet is a very formal motion. I don't know if we actually need to do that. I believe it is the case under our existing handbook that the board president has the authority to just create a work group and appoint members to it. But given the importance of the fact that this is a handbook that serves for, you know, it's intended to exist for all of you, that was the reason why we drafted it up in a formal way with a motion. But if there's not a lot of, you know, if there's no further comment or debate on the topic, we could probably just establish it and move forward in that way.
Any thoughts from members? Member Pruitt?
I just want to make sure the nominees are willing.
They just found out about it right now. No, I'm kidding.
I think Uni and Alex would make fantastic members on our work group.
As long as Uni knows Canva, my design skills are not what they used to be.
Okay, then we'll just take it as an appointment then, rather than making it a formal motion. If that's okay with everybody. Okay, thank you for volunteering.
Brennan,
Do we want to maybe do this as a formal motion?
do you want us to?
I kind of do.
Okay. Let's keep council happy.
Okay, so let's take a motion to accept our two new members for this.
There is a suggested motion in your packet you could read if you'd like.
So I'm going to make the motion. I move to establish a 2-member work group called the Board Member Handbook Work Group, tasked with collecting, reviewing, and analyzing existing board member handbooks used by other boards, working with other units within the Department of Consumer Affairs, and reviewing, revising, and redesigning the board's existing 2019 handbook. The work group shall submit a draft handbook for board approval at the first board meeting of 2026, and the 2 members of the work group shall be Alex Clemens and Uni Linden.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? You have to repeat the whole thing.
Do I second.
We have first and second. Anyone in the audience would like to comment? Seeing none, if we can open it up to those online or on the phone, moderator.
WebEx is now open for public comment on the motion. If you'd like to make a comment, please raise a hand by tapping that hand button at the bottom of the screen. Dial-in users, dial *3 to raise your hand. And for our mobile device users, you may need to hit the ellipses button. That's the ... in order to find your hand. We're going to take just a few more seconds to see if we have a request for public comment. Seeing no request, you wish to continue with the motion?
Yes, please. Can a roll call vote, please?
Member Clemens?
Captain Handbook votes aye.
Aye.
Dr. Pruitt?
Aye.
Dr. Wong?
Aye.
Dr. Bragg? Aye. Vice President Linden? Aye. President Garcia?
And I vote aye. Motion passes. Thank you.
That can be a motion during the work group.
Okay, we're moving on to item 7B, discussion and possible action on 2026 board and committee meeting schedule. So please look at that, enter those dates into your phones and your schedules. We are proposing for 2026, the board meetings to be January 23rd, April 10th, July 10th, and October 23rd. And 2026 committee meeting dates will be February 13th, May 1st, August 7th, and November 13th. Any comments from board members? Any conflicts? Any suggestions? Now is the time.
Members, these are Fridays, I believe, exclusively, and I believe for the board meetings, these are very consistent dates for next year compared to what we've been doing this year, with the one exception being the January meeting. This year, we purposely had our first meeting a little bit later than January to account for the sunset bill and wanting to allow for some of that action to occur. Proposing for 26 to have a January meeting because our last meeting of this year is scheduled for October. So October to January is kind of a good, you know, it's about a quarter's worth of time. So yeah, other than that, very consistent dates to the meetings for this year. We would anticipate one of these meeting dates, probably the third or the fourth meeting date, being a meeting that would occur in a location other than Sacramento. Yeah, I mean, going forward, that's what we intend to do. It feels related to this item, so I'll mention it. Our October meeting this year will be held in Southern California, and members will be getting more information, I think next week, about the logistics and travel planning for that item, for again, our October meeting of this year, 2025. But that is something that we anticipate doing consistently going forward, is having at least one of our meetings in a location other than Sacramento. Just as a reminder, statute does require us to do that.
Council, does this need to be a motion, an action item?
It doesn't, yeah, like this would just formalize it.
Okay.
So that's the difference it makes.
So if we can have a motion to accept these dates as written.
A motion, just real quick, a motion and second is important because with that approval, staff is able to move forward with securing the logistics and space that we need for, especially meetings that occur within the DCA buildings.
Motion and second.
I'll make a motion to accept the dates for our 2026 board meetings.
Thank you.
I'll second.
We have a first and a second. We're going to open it up for public comment for anyone in the audience. Seeing none, if we can open it up for a public comment for the phones and online.
We are open for public comment on the motion for B, as in Bravo. If you'd like to make a comment, please raise a hand by tapping that hand button at the bottom of the screen. Dial-in users, dial *3 to raise your hand, and we will call on people in the order we have requests. We're going to take just a few seconds now to see if we have a request for public comment. Seeing no request for public comment, do you wish to continue with the motion?
Yes, please. We can do a roll call vote.
Member Clements,
Aye.
Member Dawson,
Aye.
Dr. Pruitt, Dr. Wong,
Aye.
Greg, aye. Vice President Linden,
Aye.
President Garcia.
I vote aye. Motion passes. Thank you very much. Agenda item number 8, discussion and possible action on 2025 legislation impacting the board, DCA, and/or optometry or opticianry profession. Gio Pruden.
Thank you, President Garcia. I'm going to take care of agenda item 8 for you all today. We will not go through all of the bills today, much like we didn't go through all of the bills last time. So the first bill on our list is AB 667, SOLASH, Professions and Vocations, License Examinations and Interpreters. This bill still does not impact the board, or it does not impact the board presently. When it was introduced, it did, and that was why we put it on our radar. We are continuing to watch it because it did initially impact our board. Again, presently, it does not. So we are just continuing to watch it, keep a close eye on it for any further changes. So at this time, we don't need to entertain a position or a motion for a position. We're just going to keep the bill on our radar with a close eye in case anything changes. I will move right along to our next bill, which is SB 351, Cabalden Health Facilities. This bill is moving right along. It's in the second house, which means it's in the assembly. Just as a reminder about what this bill would do, it does not presently impact the Board of Optometry. It would prohibit a private equity group or hedge fund involved in any manner with a physician or dental practice doing business in this state from interfering with the professional judgment of those physicians and dentists in terms of their healthcare decisions. We put this bill on our radar because many of its provisions would seem applicable to optometry in the optometric space as well. Perhaps many of its provisions would be applicable to other healing arts professions as well, but specific to us with optometry, we felt there may be some similarities that this bill would make sense to apply, again, to optometry. It does not appear that the bill is going to be amended this year to incorporate any of those optometry-related provisions. So I think it's an important bill. Our position last time was we wanted to see ourselves get included in the bill. We wanted to see optometry be covered by these provisions. Again, however, it does not appear that any further amendments in that regard are going to be taken. I think that this is a topic and an issue we should stay close to as a board, and we should look toward perhaps potentially trying to bring forward our own legislation in this regard next year. I just don't think that there was much of an opportunity to deal with this issue in this bill, given the fact that we also had our sunset bill going at the same time. So while SB 351 is still moving and it's a live bill, it does not appear that we're going to be successful in getting optometry included into this bill. So no action needed, I think, at this time, except we'll continue keeping it on our radar. And again, I think this policy is an important one in terms of consumer protection, and we should be keeping it on our radar and potentially seeing what we may want to try to sponsor as a board going forward. Any questions about SB 351? Okay. SB 470 is by Senator Laird. It's the Bagley-Keene Open Meeting Act, teleconferencing. Two clarifications I need to make on the notes for here. One is this bill, it does not permanently remove the sunset date. Right now, there is a sunset date that ends on Jan 1, 2026 that governs some of the remote provisions under the Bagley-Keene Act, which this board has utilized in the past. Just as a reminder, today, we are not utilizing the remote option. We are meeting entirely in person. The WebEx is a courtesy for the public, but board members are not taking advantage of those provisions under the law. SB 470 extends out the sunset date of those provisions by 4 years to 2030. It originally fully extended them out. Now it just extends the sunset date out a couple years. That is one clarification I need to make to what's in your packet. The second is the board position. I incorrectly included in your packet that our board position was support. I do not believe that is correct. Member Clemens asked that we hold this bill for further discussion at this meeting to try to understand in a little bit more detail the source or the opposition and where they're coming from. The opposition is made up of a loose coalition of different organizations that would like to see this bill amended to be more consistent with how the open meeting provisions apply for local governments. There's a different section of law, I believe it's called the Brown Act, which is applicable to local government bodies, not state government bodies. And under those provisions of law in the Brown Act, there are provisions that talk about there's more of a limitation on the remote option that is available to members at the local government level pursuant to the Brown Act. The remote option in that case is limited to family emergencies and other documented type of situations compared to the remote option in our law, which is more open and doesn't have that same degree of specificity as to when you are able to use the remote option. The coalition of opposition would like to see similar provisions that exist in the Brown Act appear also in this law. So that is the source of their opposition. Again, from a staff perspective, this bill would by extending the sunset date out of these remote provisions would allow for that flexibility to continue. And so that is an option of the Open Meeting Act that we have taken advantage of in the past, and we may need to avail ourselves of that option in the future. So that remote option ability is important to boards and is important to this board, I think, and how we have met again in the past. So a suggested staff position would be to support the bill because the extension of that sunset date, again, is important to allowing that remote option to exist. There are a few other of our boards in DCA who have taken support positions on this bill, likely for that reason. So Again, we do not, there's an error in your packet here. It says that we have a support position. That's not accurate, but would happily entertain a motion and a second today for a support position on SB 470.
Yes.
Quick question before we move on to that. One of the pieces of conversation that and I think perhaps somebody else brought up at the meeting where we discussed this previously was whether DCA could have a position rather than individual boards having a position. Do you have any information about whether other boards have stepped out in support of this or in opposition to this? Because it would be an odd position for the umbrella agency to have warring factions amongst its children.
I'm not aware that any boards have taken an opposed position on the bill. There are a few that have supported it. Having once worked in the DCA ledge office and being very familiar with how their process is, it is rare for the department to take positions one way or the other on legislation. And I'm not aware that the department has taken a position on this legislation. That's generally the purview of the boards.
Any other comments?
I just had because I recall from April meeting, Member Clemens was concerned about the opposition, wanting to know more information. And so I don't know. I just want to know if you felt that you understand the opposition side more fully now.
I do in the intervening time. I'm always amazed when Common Cause and the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association both support the same thing. I can make cogent arguments on behalf of this legislation and opposed to it as well. It depends on where your value structure lies, much as some of our previous discussion today. So I'm set on, and I understand this legislation, and thank you for making sure I had the opportunity to say so.
That was the call that you just wanted to give more time for discovery.
Any other discussion, comments? So I'll entertain a motion to support SB 470.
I will make the motion to support SB 470.
The second,
Second.
we have a first and a second. If we can open it up for any comments in the audience on this item. Seeing none, if we can open it up for any comments online or on the phone.
WebEx is now open for public comment on the motion. This is SB 470. If you'd like to make a comment, please raise a hand by tapping that hand button at the bottom of the screen. Dial-in users dial *3 to raise your hand, and we will call on people in the order we have requests. We're going to take just a few seconds to see if we have a request for public comment. Seeing no request for public comment, do you wish to continue with the motion?
Yes, please. If we can do a roll call vote.
Member Clemens,
No.
Aye.
Dr. Pruitt,
Aye.
Dr. Wong,
Aye.
Dr. Bragg, aye. Vice President Linden,
Aye.
President Garcia.
Aye. The motion passes. We'll move on to SB 641.
SB 641 by Senator Ashby. The title of the bill is Department of Consumer Affairs and Department of Real Estate, States of Emergency Waivers and Exemptions. This bill is also moving right along. Much as the title indicated, the bill is about providing boards waivers and the ability to issue waivers and exemptions to their laws when a disaster strikes. This is a Senate response to the devastating fires that occurred down in the southern part of our state, which folks are still very much dealing with. This is, again, an attempt to provide boards the ability to have flexibility when it makes sense for them to engage in a waiver and exemption process when their licensees have been impacted. We brought this bill to our board earlier this year, did not take a position on the bill at that time, as we wanted to kind of see if it would evolve and how it might change. The bill has not changed much since we last evaluated it. And one of the, I think, points of that we were wondering about is exactly how the waiver process would work. Is that something that would require regulations to have to implement? Interestingly enough, the bill right in section 1 says that it is intent of the legislature to provide this authority without having to do regulations to implement it. So that's intent language. It doesn't, it's intent language. It doesn't have the same force of law necessarily as language that would say that you are exempt from the APA for purposes of implementation. But I think it gives you some indication about where the legislature intends to go with this authority and this flexibility. So I think this is something that would be important for our board to have. There have been a few instances, as I believe I mentioned to this board when we last discussed this bill, where while the governor's action on the waivers was critical and necessary, it unfortunately did not cover all of the situations where folks have been impacted. So there were other fires and other events that occurred in our state in the fall of last year that also were devastating, and there was not an executive order that was issued to assist in that area. So had this authority been in place, the board may have been able to make that an option by issuing a waiver or an exemption. So I think that this would be important authority for the board to have in its toolkit, but also need to recognize, while that might be a pro of having this authority, if you have this authority, we may expect stakeholders coming and asking for the authority to be used, right? Every time there is any type of disaster or emergency or what have you. And so, the expectation, right, of that process, that is something that we should be thoughtful about. But in my opinion, probably a good authority for the board to have to be able to look at what makes sense to waive or exempt out when a disaster does unfortunately happen. So happy to hear from the members about any thoughts, comments that you have about this bill and the exception and waiver process that it would provide.
Any comments from board members? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
Member Clemens, did you have any? Okay. Just would say there's also a couple boards in the department that have supported this as well. Board of Psychology, Board of Pharmacy, Contractors Board, and Osteopathic Medical Board.
41, right? I'll make the
641.
I'll make the motion to approve SB 641.
And I will second.
We have a first and second. We'll open it up for any comments from the audience. Seeing none, we'll open it up for comments from the phone and online.
WebEx is open for public comment on the motion. If you'd like to make a comment, please raise a hand by tapping that hand button at the bottom of the screen. Dial-in users dial *3 to raise your hand, and we will call on people in the order we have requests. We're going to take a few seconds to see if we have a request for public comment. Seeing no request for public comment, do you wish to continue with the motion?
Yes, please. If we can have a roll call vote in the support position for SB 641.
Member Clemens?
Aye.
Member Dawson?
Aye.
Aye.
Dr. Wong?
Aye.
Dr. Bragg? Aye. Vice President Linden?
Aye.
President Garcia?
I vote aye. Motion passes. We'll move on to SB 776.
I'm going to propose that we take a 5-minute break, if that's okay. I think we have a member that needs to use the facility. So we're going to take a 5-minute break and reconvene at 12:19. establish quorum again, Brennan? Sure.
Member Clemens,
Present.
Member Dawson,
Present.
Dr. Pruitt,
Here.
Dr. Wong,
Present.
Dr. Bragg present, Vice President Linden,
Present.
President Garcia.
Present. Quorum, we're going to back on SB 776.
Thank you, President Garcia. SB 776 by Senator Ashby, optometry licensure. This is our sunset bill, which we've talked about a few times. The bill was up for hearing this week. It was on Monday, or excuse me, Tuesday, July 8th. The bill was up for hearing in the Assembly Committee on Business and Professions. I appeared in person and testified regarding the bill and its provisions. I did not inform the board that we have a support position on the bill because we do not have a support position on the most recent version of the bill. So we hope to accomplish that today by reaffirming our support of the most recent version of this bill. But I informed the legislature that we've been engaged with stakeholders and the author's office every step of the way on this bill, and that we're grateful for the provisions that are contained within it. Most notably, since we last discussed this bill, we now have amended into it our optical company registration language. So this was an issue that we talked about in our sunset background paper. I believe it was issue 12 and 13. And it was also in the legislature's background paper to us, and we responded to that by informing the legislature that we were working with stakeholders to draft language that would try to close this issue of optical companies and their registration adherence. And so now you see that language contained into the bill in two sections. It's in section 2 and in section 14. And the language would clearly define a dispensing ophthalmic business to be a person or entity that is engaged in the business of dispensing prescription eyeglasses and contacts. The language would also require registration for any person or entity who offers, advertises, or performs optical services for the general public and has executed a lease, sublease, contract, or written agreement with a medical doctor or optometrist or the corporate entity for which the medical doctor or optometrist is a shareholder, director, or officer. Again, just want to thank the stakeholders as well as legislative staff and council for working together on this language to address issue 12 from our background paper. I want to also say that when I was testifying on Tuesday regarding the bill, the board got some really good feedback. One of the other presenters gave a lot of credit to the board and our staff and the good work that we've been doing on improving application and licensure timelines, specifically mentioning the reduction in length of time that it takes. And that led a representative, a legislator, to say that it's good to hear government working. So that's good feedback to hear, and want to make sure that I shared that all with you as well. So again, this is our sunset bill. We are looking for a new support position on the most recent version of this bill, and we will continue to stay engaged with Senator Ashby and her team and all of our stakeholders as we see this bill hopefully continue to move forward and make it to the governor's desk for signature. So again, I'm looking for a support motion on SB 776.
I'll move to support the most recent version of SB 776.
I'll second it.
Open up for public comment for anyone in the audience. Seeing none, we'll open up for public comment. Yes. It is now. Okay, thank you. Okay, we have first and second, so we'll open up for public comment for anyone in the audience. Seeing none, we'll open up for public comment for anyone online or on the phones.
WebEx is now open for public comment. If you'd like to make a comment, please raise a hand by tapping that hand button at the bottom of the screen. Dial-in users dial *3 to raise your hand. And we will call on people in the order we have requests. We're going to take just a moment now to see if we have a request for public comment. Seeing no request for public comment, do you wish to continue with the motion?
Yes, please. And we can have a vote, please.
Member Clemens?
Aye.
Member Dawson?
Aye.
Dr. Pruitt?
Aye.
Dr. Wong?
Aye.
Bragg, aye. Vice President Linden?
Aye.
President Garcia?
I vote aye. Okay, motion passes in support of SB 776.
Can I
Thank you.
just make a quick, I
Yes.
just want to say thank you to Greg and to all of the staff. I feel like he's represented the board so well, and Greg and the staff are responsible for all of this favorable, feedback from, the legislative committees and also from the stakeholder groups as well. And so, yeah, thank you for all the good work. And I know he's heard even more good feedback from everyone that he met when he was there. And so, yeah, thank you. And I think it's great that the optical company language is in there. That's an issue that we've been working on for a long time. And so, yeah, it's great to see everything moving forward. Thanks.
I think we all concur. Yeah, great work on behalf of EO and staff. Thank you. Okay, moving.
Judge for a couple minutes.
A judge. It's in the room.
Know the name tag.
Yeah. Okay, we're at 12:25. EO Pruden, what would you like to do?
Sorry, can we maybe take public comment for all the legislation? I think there's a couple of bills that we didn't vote on, so just to the public an opportunity to, if they want to.
But if we're not, there's no motion or no vote, there's no,
Every agenda item gets a public
Alright.
comment, so
which one would you like?
I'll just do general public comment.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to open it up for general public comment for the bills that we just reviewed. For anyone in the audience? Seeing none, we'll open it up for a public comment for anyone online or on the phones.
WebEx is open for public comment on all the bills. If you'd like to make a comment, please raise a hand by tapping that hand button at the bottom of the screen. Dial-in users dial *3 today, and we will call on people in the order we have requests.
Want to go to 9 or?
I think, oh, we're still.
Seeing no request for public comment, do you wish to continue with the
please.
agenda?
Yeah, thank you very much.
Sorry, David. I think staff has gone to go get lunch. And so while they're doing that, I think we can go ahead and move to number 9, and we can get through number 9, and maybe lunch will arrive in the room. Then we'll take lunch, and then we just have item 10 left for the day. So if that's okay with folks, I will move to number 9. Agenda item number 9 is a discussion and possible action on our dispensing optician work group recommendation. I'm going to give a little bit of just background and history, and then some explanation about what we are recommending and hope to accomplish in terms of moving forward from here. So just by way of background, the board has within it a statutorily created dispensing optician committee, or the DOC. And the DOC has unfortunately not been able to meet over the last 4.5 years because of a lack of quorum. It does not have members appointed to it. We have been asked as a board, pursuant to the sunset process, to look at this issue and try to come up with some ideas around it to help this committee get going again and move forward on the topic of opticianry and the DOC within our board. And so we sort of started that process at the February 14th board meeting earlier this year, when we created a 2-member work group made up of Dr. Wong and member Dawson as the members assigned to the work group to begin doing this work. The work group was tasked with making recommendations to the board about the purpose, function, and future of the DOC, and also was tasked, the DOC was, with bringing a recommendation to the board. And so within this agenda item number 9, we are presenting that work group's recommendation. A little bit about the work group's process and their work. The work group met twice to discuss the DOC. And we established, the work group did, that the purpose and the function of the DOC is to advise and make recommendations to the full board regarding the regulation of dispensing opticians, spectacle lens dispensers, and contact lens dispensers. But because the DOC has not met in over 4 years, because of the lack of quorum, the DOC has not been able to carry out this function and fulfill its purpose. It was because of those reasons that the work group focused its initial efforts on whether it would make sense to change the scheme within the statute so that the DOC could be constituted with members. The work group's proposal or the recommendation would be to reduce the size of the DOC membership from 5 to 3 members and provide the board with the appointing power to determine who those members are. Of the 3 members under the proposal, 1 member would be a registered dispensing optician. 1 member would be either a registered spectacle lens or contact lens dispenser, and the 3rd member would either be a public member or a licensed optometrist that currently sits on the board. 1 of the 3 members of the DOC would need to be a sitting board member to ensure that continuity between the committee and the board. The benefit of this proposal is that it would allow the DOC to be constituted with members, and therefore the DOC could begin meeting and fulfilling its statutory purpose. So within this item, you see proposed text to effectuate this outcome, but I want to just mention that what this idea is a recommendation and an idea to try to kick the conversation to get it started, right? I don't think we intend to take this language and walk over to the legislature and deliver it. We want to have a conversation with the legislature and the governor's office about these appointments and the makeup of this DOC. So I really view this recommendation as sort of kickstarting that conversation and bringing us all together around a table, if you will, so that we can figure out what makes most sense for the DOC. We understand, or at least I understand, that the present authority and appointing power is within the governor's office, and we want to be mindful of and respectful of that power. And certainly, this recommendation would be a recommendation to change that power. And so, I think if the board moves forward with this recommendation, what we would do from here is approach the governor's office, approach the legislature. Hey, here's an idea. How do you guys feel about it? How do you want to go forward from here? And so I think this is a good recommendation that would allow us to engage in that conversation affirmatively. So that's my presentation on this item. I know that Dr. Wong and Member Dawson, you were the 2 members of the work group too. So I want to turn it over to any comments or ideas, thoughts that you have about the work that you all did and this recommendation, and about the DOC, in a more larger sense, if you wanted to offer any comments in that area. Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, I'm excited about the possibility of us reconvening our DOC because it's something I think that we really need to have active. So if we could get this passed, this would be fantastic.
Any other comments?
If you look at it, I think it's a really cool and workable model. So I hope you guys all agree. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Lillian, for all your help.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is a very creative way of saying this needs to be fixed. Here is a solution. I certainly hope the legislature and the governor see this as a friendly response, and I think it was extremely well crafted. I hope they just approve it as is. Thank you both for your work on this.
I just had a question for clarification. The portion of member being an RDO. So in RDO, there are 4 types of RDOs,
Yeah.
2 individual and 2 entity.
Mm-hmm.
So is there a plan in place as far as like entities, who of the entity would be eligible to serve on the board? And then additionally, will there be an application process? And with the governor's board, people do have to apply, and would that be incorporated? And obviously, those are things to figure out later on, but I just wanted to get if there was any thought about that.
I don't know if I have the answer to the second part, the second question. The first question you asked about the different license types that we have, you're absolutely correct. We have 4 in the opticianry space, 2 which are individuals, and then 2 which are more business entity types. The definition of registered dispensing optician that's provided for in the language right now, pursuant to Chapter 5.5, commencing with Section 2550, that's existing language right now, and the definition of registered dispensing optician incorporates all 4 of the license types. So it is possible that that RDO could be, as we all understand an RDO to be, the dispensing ophthalmic business could qualify under that provision. A non-resident entity could also qualify under that provision, as could both of the individual license types, contact lens and spectacle lens. They both, an RDO is, the definition of RDO is all of those entities under that section, 2550. So it encompasses the possibility of any one of those entities or license types fulfilling that seat. Does that answer your question?
Partly just clarifying that that does include entities, but how would we, as far as an entity, like it would be the whole business?
No, it would be,
I
I see.
individual person,
It
and
would-
how
I
would
see.
you determine the criteria of who would be eligible from that entity, the one that writes the check for it, or?
No, it's a good question. So some of our entity types are sole practitioners, right? So in that case, it would be, there's only one individual in charge of that business. In a more maybe traditional corporate structure where there's multiple officers or officials, for example, I would envision that it would probably be the president, the CEO, the head person. But I think you raise a good question that we can try to clarify. I mean, this is existing law now, so I would want to find out how do they evaluate that question right now. But again, I think to try to answer your question, it would not be the company that sits. It would need to be an individual, so it would need to be somebody that's designated.
Also, and regulatory counsel can yell at me if I'm wrong, but I assume this would be something we could, if need be, we could always clarify in regulation too.
And if I may, I think to the second part of our question, since it would be the board appointing the people and not the governor's office, that appointment process would be something that we would develop.
Yeah. No, the board could. And I would just say, Lillian, maybe you have some history here because, again, hate to put you on the spot, but when this was initially created within our board, the board did play a role in appointing the initial members. And current law contained in your packet tells you that. Sub E, which is being proposed to be deleted after the initial appointments by the board pursuant to Sub A. So the board initially, more than a decade ago, none of us were here for this, I think, except for maybe Lillian.
I'm feeling
You were
especially
you were
right now.
you were on the board at that
Yeah,
in
so-
2015, 2016. None of us were. So I don't know how that may have happened at that time.
Like, we had other candidates other than board members that were initially put on the board, and I can't remember. They might have been previous board members. So they might have been terming off our board because I know some of those members were then put on the DOC. And then we also had our optician at the time. She was the board member that was put on the DOC, but I think almost every member that was on the DOC had been a previous board member. So, but to answer the other question, for, I think, any future appointees, perhaps the work group could look through all the different applications and then suggest members or possible candidates to the full board. So we could look at the different RDO registrations at that time. I don't know.
Yeah, I think for me, I view this as an idea, proposal, or recommendation, right? To kind of kickstart a conversation, right? And be able to approach the administration and the legislature and say, hey, here's an idea. We want to work together. Take a temperature check, right? See how they feel about it. And again, engage in that conversation to see how we can move forward collectively. Because I think no matter what, it's not, the board doesn't want to operate alone here if we don't have to. We want to be collaborative and work with all of our partners in the administration and in the legislature for example. So I think this is, again, not something that I would envision, run into the legislature with and being like amended into our sunset bill. We're already past the policy committee process, right? In that area. But it would allow me to get to that table, right? And have that conversation with the administration and appointments office and the legislature and say, hey, again, here's an idea. We have this committee. I can tell you all the different ways and examples about how this committee would have been beneficial to have over the last couple of years. Here's why we haven't been able to have it meet. Here's an idea. Do you guys have other ideas? And see if we can figure something out. And I think that's the real benefit of this idea and recommendation, is that it would allow us to engage in that way.
Any other comments from members? Any comments from anyone in the audience?
I see Ruby coming up. She's going to give us maybe a little history of the DOC. Just make sure that green button's on. There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, just briefly, the history was there was a larger committee, and I was the first one to actually sit on the board and to be the chair of that committee. And then the other people that went through the application process, and they were appointed to be on the committee. So there was a public member, there were 2 licensed people, and there was also an attorney who represented the public, I guess. And then we had the executive officer there. I think this idea is fabulous. It really is. And what I really enjoy here in California, that the licensing board for optometry and opticians were together. It's so productive and it's so meaningful. So that I do like, and I love the idea.
Thank you, Ruby.
Ruby. Yeah, we'll open it up for public comment for anyone online or on the phones.
WebEx is now open for public comment. If you'd like to make a comment, please raise a hand by tapping that hand button at the bottom of the screen. Dial-in users dial *3 to raise your hand, and we will call on people in the order we have requests. We're going to take just a moment now to see if we have a request for public comment.
Before you do, though.
Seeing no requests, you wish to continue?
Yes, please.
So maybe just a question for council here. This is a discussion of possible action. We don't have a motion. There's no second or anything like that yet. Do I need that to be able to have a conversation with the administration and the legislature about this idea? Do I need a motion, or am I able to, maybe under the auspices of just sunset review?
I
engage in
think
that way?
that it sounds like the board is in agreement with this language. And so I think if we have the board do a motion right now, it gives you greater weight and
Okay.
you can come and specifically state that the board has approved this language. To give you some flexibility though, we could work that into the motion too. So if you need to make
Yeah.
changes. So
Yeah.
maybe a motion of I move to authorize EO Prudent to seek
Engage in a conversation with the legislature and the administration around
consistent with the language as presented today.
around the appointment authority of the DOC or something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
That sounds good to me. Does that
Okay.
work for you?
Yeah. Yeah. That's really what I'm hoping to accomplish, is to be able to, I can't go speak on behalf of the board just willy nilly.
Yeah.
I got to have direction from you all. So I guess what I'm kind of looking for is the direction to be able to approach the administration and the legislature with this idea and then engage in the conversation. So
Member Prudent, before you say I so move, maybe can you just restate the type of motion you're looking for so that when we get to the meeting minutes, it's clear for staff?
yeah, well, let me take a stab at it. Were you going to try?
No.
Oh,
Yeah, go
you
ahead. Yeah, Member
Vice
Linden, if you
President
have this,
Linden,
feel
by
free.
all means.
So I move to authorize Executive Officer Pruden to engage in conversations with the legislature and the administration in a manner consistent with the recommendations and language put forth by the DOC work group.
Yeah.
Very good. Wow. Okay, we got a motion. Do we have a second?
I will second that well-said motion.
We have a first and second, so we're going to go ahead and open it back up for any discussion from the audience. Any comments? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and go to online and the phones.
WebEx is now open for public comment on the motion. If you'd like to make a comment, please raise a hand by tapping that hand button at the bottom of the screen. Dial-in users dial *3 to raise your hand, and we will call on people in the order we have requests. We're going to take just a few seconds now to see if we have a request for public comment. Seeing no requests, you wish to continue with the motion?
Yes, please. Okay, if we can have roll call vote, please.
Member Clemens,
Aye.
Member Dawson,
Aye.
Dr. Pruitt,
Aye.
Dr. Wong,
Aye.
Dr. Bragg, aye. Vice President Linden,
Aye.
President Garcia.
And I vote aye. Motion passes. Okay, that brings us to the end of 9. So we have lunch. We're looking at a 45-minute break. Okay, so we'll reconvene at 1:30.
Sounds good.
30, okay. We're going to bring us back into session. We can do a roll call vote to reestablish quorum.
Member Clemens,
Present.
Member Dawson,
Present.
Dr. Pruitt,
Here.
Dr. Wong,
Present.
Dr. Bragg, present. Vice President Linden,
Present.
President Garcia.
Present. Okay, we have a quorum. We're going to move on to item 10, discussion of possible action on executive officer report. EO Pruden.
Thank you, President Garcia and members. This is agenda item 10A. This is our program update. A few updates that I want to share with the board today. The first is our Office of Professional Examination Services, otherwise known as OPES. This is a unit within the Department of Consumer Affairs that assists with all things examination and the development of our California law and regulations exam. As you can see in your materials, we are mandated by law to conduct an occupational analysis approximately every 5 years. We are also mandated to ensure that our exam, again, our California law and regulations exam, is regularly evaluated for its content in terms of validity and fairness, and that it is a defensible exam. And again, OPES is the office within DCA that we contract with to perform these activities. In terms of the occupational analysis, the occupational analysis for the optometry profession was last performed in 2018. I believe it was late in 2018, and then the report was released in the early part of 2019. We've included a link, a hyperlink within the electronic materials to this occupational analysis. It is publicly available on our website. Again, occupational analysis is supposed to be done approximately every 5 years. We have engaged in a contract with OPES to perform that work for this present fiscal year that we are now in, the 25-26 fiscal year. It's a little bit beyond the 5-year window, of course. We delayed the occupational analysis by 1 year because we were going through sunset review. Did not think it made sense to do both at the same time. Nevertheless, we have to do this work. And so we have entered into a contract to perform these activities. And, excuse me, in your packet, we've included the costs, just to be fully transparent of what these activities cost the board to conduct. The occupational analysis and the exam development that is ongoing every year for the CLRE, again, are critical items. In sum total for this present fiscal year, we will spend around $130,000 to conduct those activities. So it's a significant expense, but a critical and a necessary activity. The occupational analysis is expected to be completed by essentially a year from now, in June of 2026. I would anticipate, if that timeline is adhered to and met, that this board would be evaluating that occupational analysis or hearing that occupational analysis, receiving it at our, I believe we just set a meeting for next year, July 10th. So that would probably be the meeting at which that OA, as we call it, is released for the board. The ongoing examination development, again, is ongoing. It's something that we do every year. The CLRE is administered to all optometry applicants. That's one of the main requirements that they must meet. We conduct a series of workshops throughout the year with our licensed subject matter expert optometrists who assist in the exam development, writing, review of those questions. And those activities also incur a cost. These are direct charges that we pay to OPES. So just being transparent with the board about the cost of these activities. I'm happy to take any questions about item 1, OPES, before I move on to the second item, if there is any. No? Okay. Moving on to number 2. This is an update on continuing education requirements for retired volunteer designated optometrists. About 2 months ago at our May 2025 Practice and Education Committee meeting, that committee discussed the CE requirements for optometrists that hold a retired volunteer designation. ODs that hold this retired volunteer designation are considered active licensees. They can fully practice optometry, but they are limited in that practice by the fact that it can only be voluntary, unpaid optometric services. These are services largely provided at health fairs, vision screenings, and other public service eye programs. We only have about 36, I think the number is about 37 now since this report was drafted, less than 40 optometrists in the state of California that have this retired volunteer designation. Retired volunteer designated ODs are held to the same CE standard as all other active licensees. If they are glaucoma certified, they must have 50 overall hours, 35 must be in ocular disease, and then 10 of that 35 must be glaucoma specific courses. If you're just TPA certified, you have the same requirement with the exception that you don't have to do the glaucoma 10 hours. This was, again, a topic that came up at the Practice and Education Committee, and they asked staff to research what other states who have a retired or retired volunteer designation do in terms of how they treat CE for those folks. So we reached out to the Association of Regulatory Boards of Optometry, who helped us query all of the other boards around the country. We didn't get the best response rate of all time, but we did get 17 states that responded. And of that 17, 5 have a retired or a retired volunteer license status that enables practice. Those 5 states are Arkansas, Colorado, Texas, Utah, and West Virginia. In Arkansas, Colorado, and West Virginia, the CE requirements are the same, regardless of whether you're a retired volunteer or you're just a normal active OD. In Texas, the retired volunteer optometrists complete half the hours required of a licensed optometrist. And Utah was the only state in the sample that does not require CE for retired volunteer designated optometrists. So this was, again, a staff, the Practice Education Committee asked staff to research this item, wanted to bring that research to the board for your consideration. I probably would be remiss if I didn't also say what the context of this was. The context here was that we have a few retired few ODs with the retired volunteer designation status who have asked whether the board would consider changing or amending the amount of CE hours that are required to be taken. Again, right now it's 50, 35, and 10 if you're glaucoma certified, and the committee wanted us to do this research to see how other states handled this question. So more of an informational item, I think, for all of you, but happy to take any comments or questions from the members, especially those on PEC, regarding this topic.
I think one of the considerations that the PEC was thinking about is that if you're retired but still active and if you're overseeing health fairs, that you are still overseeing the care of patients. So especially if you are retired and you're not actively seeing patients, it would probably be in the people of California's best interest to make sure that you are up to date with your current health knowledge. So as a result, the PEC committee was recommending that they that they continue to be required to have their 50 hours of CE. So that was one of our thoughts.
Yeah. Very good. Okay, I will move on to item number 3. Item number 3 is just a verbal report on attendance, my attendance at the Association of Regulatory Boards of Optometry annual meeting. I was very fortunate to be able to go back a second year and attend this annual meeting. ARBO is the association made up of all of the state boards of optometry, with some limited international representation as well. There's the Canadian provinces, and then Guam and New Zealand. I'm not sure if Australia is part of that, but Guam and New Zealand are as well. Really, again, just fortunate to be able to be there. I, over the last year, have been participating in a telehealth task force that was created by ARBO, made up of different representatives from the different states around the country, including Kansas, Florida, Arizona, and I'm North Carolina, and I'm sure I'm forgetting a state or two, so please forgive me. But we met several times over the last year, really researching and looking at, how states across the country handle telehealth, and trying to come up with some best practices and sort of pros and cons around that issue. And so we delivered our task force report at the annual meeting this year. I was also able to participate in sort of a round robin rapid fire panel where they have an executive officer, they have a board attorney, they had a licensee board member, and then they had a testing expert. And just take rapid fire questions from the audience and the group. I think one of the questions that I was asked, which was a good question, is sort of how, as the executive officer, I sort of view my role and where I'm situated. And I shared with the group that I very much view it as a intergovernmental sort of relations role. I have my staff to manage and all of those aspects. I have our relationships that we have individually, and then collectively as a board, and then of course all of the various stakeholders, right, up and down the sort of spectrum, both internal stakeholders like DCA or agency or the administration, and then of course our external stakeholders like our association. So I thought it was a really interesting question to be asked. We spent a lot of time talking about testing at this meeting. A lot of conversation around the national board exams, and whether it's the new Part 3 that has only been in existence for less than a year. Some of the maybe implementation challenges that existed at the beginning of bringing in that new exam. Some future-looking exam activities, such as the national board is moving its testing location and some of the benefits that might have in terms of increased security, increased access. Importantly for California and other West Coast-based students, they're allowing some accommodation and some additional flexibility for, I think, the start time of the exams, which will assist folks from the West Coast having to travel to North Carolina with time zone issues and things like that. Ultimately, one of the most impactful things that I take away from attending this meeting is being able to dialogue and meet with your other executive officers and being able to learn how other states do certain things, being able to share how we do certain things. Again, we'll say maybe one comment about testing. There are some state boards of optometry who create their state exam by just passing it around the board members. And that doesn't feel like a very defensible exam to me. So hearing things like that makes me very proud of having to spend the money that we have to spend on our exam development, because it really stands above and cannot be challenged in that way. So a great opportunity to be at this event. Was lucky to be joined by our former board president, Dr. Lillian Wong, and our liaison to ARBO is former board member, Dr. Kawaguchi. And so we had some decent California representation in the room. And I'm very proud to say and announce that our very own Dr. Wong has been appointed to, or elected, I should say, not appointed, excuse me, elected to the ARBO Board of Directors. So very, yeah, very happy for you, Lillian, and that gives California a seat at that board. And there have been, issues over the years that California has cared very strongly about, testing location being one, right? And so just being able to have a representative from our board be on that board, is something that I think we should all be proud of, and looking forward to the good work that Lillian's going to do in that role too. So that's my sort of verbal report here for item 3 within 10A. I'm happy to take any questions, comments from the members regarding the ARBO meeting. Cool. Very good. Next year they're in Arizona, and looking forward to hopefully easier travel getting to that meeting. So we will move on to item number 4. Staffing update. I probably really should have, this probably should have been the number 1 item here. But we're really happy to announce Erica Batista, who's here in the room with us. Yeah. Erica, as many of you know, in fact, all of you know, has been our admin analyst for the last couple years. I think she started just before, 3 years, started just before I did 3 years ago. And she's filling the vacancy that was left by Randy Love's retirement, which occurred at the end of April. So we're really excited to bring Erica into this role. I know she's very much looking forward to recruiting and filling in behind her. As she said to me, she's like, I will need some help going to get these lunches. So we're looking forward to Erica in this role, and then her bringing on a new staff member. I'm not going to steal Brad's thunder because I know he has an announcement to make too, but we did welcome a new enforcement staff analyst, and Brad can share more about her and her name when we get to that item. But we're really excited to be promoting some folks, and then bringing on some new folks as well to help strengthen our team. You'll see at the end here of this item the org chart. And just as a reminder, this was something that we've talked about at prior meetings, but we had decided, pursuant to a budget letter issued by the administration, which was looking for some reductions and some efficiencies, if you will, in programs. We had decided to reduce our position count on our org chart by 1.4 positions. We gave up, technically it's 2 positions, but they weren't full-time positions. So that's how you get to the 1.4. These positions were vacant, so no current staff, was impacted by them. And while we won't see any savings in the immediate term, reducing our org chart may lead to some minor savings in future fiscal years, since these positions will no longer be on our org chart. So we begin this fiscal year with 16 total positions on our org chart, and you can see we have just a few vacancies. Of those vacancies, we are actively recruiting for 1 at the moment, which is our policy analyst position. And we will soon be recruiting for the admin analyst position that we were just discussing. So we have 4 vacancies, only 2 of which we are preparing for recruitment activities on. So yeah, any questions about the staffing, the org chart within item 10A? No? Okay. Brennan, should we take public comment now or at the end of 10?
Either way is fine, whatever you think is appropriate.
We'll take it at the end. All right, I think we're going to move on to item 10B. Still on the executive officer's report. This is the enforcement program, and we have our enforcement manager, Brad Garding, here to deliver this report. Floor is yours, Brad.
All right, thanks, Greg. Thank you, board. This is my first time addressing you directly in a, yes, it's on. Have to be a little closer. Yes, this is the first time I'm able to address you formally at a board meeting. So I appreciate your attention. So like Greg was saying, we have filled our SSA analyst position with someone from the Department of State Hospitals. Her name is Raven Chand. She worked as a legal secretary there. She's used to a faster paced environment than what we have at the board as far as getting things filed and things like that. But she's well qualified and will make a nice addition to our team.
Brad, can you pull the mic a little closer to your?
It's still not there, huh? Okay. All right. So also on the enforcement staffing item, new enforcement staff are receiving training on how we conduct investigations and are familiarizing themselves with the laws and regulations the board enforces. While training is ongoing, this quarter's enforcement report shows that our closure rate and cycle time dipped slightly, and that's due to training. Other enforcement staff have been pulled in to do some training with them, so it takes away from their workload a little bit. But we should be more. We'll be picking up on a lot of the types of investigations we're doing moving forward. Another item, the CE audits are also slowed down a bit as a second analyst is learning how to do the audits and what happens after someone fails an audit. So on the statistics report, we were able to do like a side-by-side with the yearly analysis, and also we can see all 4 quarters for this past fiscal year. Of the fiscal year numbers, the one item that popped out most to me was the cycle time on the average days to close for our citations. That dropped by 85%. And this is largely due to the fact about how citations are issued when there's a CE audit failure. So the CE audits happen before cases are open. So the start time for that case doesn't start until there's a failure. And then a citation is usually issued within a week or 2 weeks after that. So they can process a lot faster than a whole investigation leading to a citation. So we dropped from 219 days last year to 33 days. So that's a significant decrease in time. And overall, the numbers should all improve as we get everyone trained up on how we do things with the board. And we're going to be targeting more unlicensed practice moving forward in this next year. We don't get, we're forecasting, not that this is based on anything, but that we can't foresee any reason why we would get more complaints filed than in previous years. So we're going to ramp up our unlicensed practice investigations and go on looking at other licensing issues that need to be addressed. So that's where a lot of our new cases are going to be coming from.
I'll just add to that context that Brad was just mentioning. The reason why that's important is the fiscal year that we just completed, 23-24, had a pretty sizable jump in our overall complaint numbers compared to the fiscal year prior to that. And one of the main reasons why was because of the unlicensed activity focus that staff was engaged in. Additionally, CE audits and things like that, which lead to complaints, it will increase numbers. As you're doing more CE audits, you will have more complaints and thus higher numbers. So that's the context, right, from where we were a year or so ago. we just ended a fiscal year and we ended very similar in terms of how many complaints we got across both optometry and opticianry to the 23-24 fiscal year. So if you look at optometry, we had 397 total complaints in 23-24, and we had 386 this most recently concluded fiscal year. So they're right there. The numbers are very similar. For opticianry, it's even closer. We had 97 in 23-24, and we had 100 in 24-25. So I think that's kind of that smoothing out that you're referencing there.
Yeah, yes, that is. Let's see, what else did I have for you guys? Okay, so for our probation monitoring statistics, we have 8 licensees that are currently on probation. None of them are tolling. They're all active probationers. Our continuing education audits, we completed 32 in the last quarter. 69% of those have passed, 10 failed, and 22 passed. This marks a 13% increase from quarter 3.
Can I just say something about CE?
Yes.
As Brad mentioned, we're training a second analyst to help out and do some of this work. It's not just about helping out and doing some of the work. It's also to make sure that skill sets and knowledge aren't just built up in one person, so that you can have sort of multiple people that have that knowledge base and skill set in a small board. As one person moves on, they will take all of that knowledge with you. So you need to have staff that have that ability. That's one comment I wanted to make. The second comment I wanted to make is, while we are still doing a fairly limited number of CE audits, the passage rate is not where it should be. The passage rate needs to come up. And so this is, once again, a public call to our licensees and our stakeholders to comply with the law and to make sure that you are doing the CE that you are supposed to do. It's 50, 35, and 10 for a glaucoma certified OD, which about 80% of our optometrists in the state of California hold that glaucoma designation. So make sure you're using the tools that are available to you, like OE Tracker or other software that is out there to track your CE. So just a PSA to make sure that we are complying with the law, and I would love to see this passage rate increase and not decrease over this fiscal year.
And also to go on that too, also, the licensure stuff, statement of licensures, FNPs, our enforcement staff is going to be looking at those items and be targeting those for investigation. So going by the requirements of the law is what we're trying to make sure that we have compliance with. All right, I'm ready to take any questions you guys have.
Any questions, board members?
No question, but thank you for your report. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Mark.
Good job, Brad.
Thank you.
Yeah, great job. Thank you.
All right.
All right, we're going to move to agenda item 10C. Erica gets off the hook on this one. She's not been in the role long enough yet to put her on that hot seat, but she knows that hot seat's coming. All right. So I'll take care of 10C. Agenda item 10C is the executive officer's report, examination, and licensing programs. First part of your memo here, like we do for most of these, is to discuss a little bit about the Breeze updates that we've been working on over the last little bit of time. In April and May, we were primarily working on the consolidation of some of the applications and registrations that exist in the optician program. As a reminder, all of the optician applications were in 2 parts, essentially. You had an application, and then when the application was approved, the applicant had to go back to Breeze and submit the registration. So they had to do 2 transactions to get the license, to get the registration. That didn't seem to make a lot of sense to us, and so we engaged in a project to combine those transactions into one, making it more seamless and easy for the applicant to get what they're trying to get. There are four license types in opticianry, and so it just takes a little bit of time to get those changes into place. And so in April and May, we were working on finishing up that process. Of course, the benefit of this change is sort of only those of us who knew what the old system was sort of can enjoy that benefit, right? Because all future applicants just see one transaction and like, well, yeah, this is easy. This makes a lot of sense. And of course it does, but that's the benefit going forward is just one transaction, no longer having to go back to Breeze twice to get the registration. Additionally, we added the home residence permit application to the Breeze interface. The home resident permit enables the licensed optometrist to provide optometric services to the homebound, to patients within their home who may have access or other issues that make it difficult for them to leave their house or place of residence and go seek care. So it's a very important program that we implemented in terms of, again, improving access to care. President Garcia, I think, was our first permit that we issued. So also a public service announcement for all licensed optometrists out there. If you have an interest or work or live in a community where you have patients that may have difficulty accessing your services, know that you have the ability to acquire a home resident permit and take your services to them. Again, you can do this on Breeze. You can apply at any time. You can also apply during your renewal application as well. There were also some more minor updates and improvements that we made, including revising language on our name change applications. We also implemented the Cures fee. There was a Cures fee increase that took effect on April 1st of this year, and we needed to implement that as well. And so these were the changes that we were working on over the last few months. Looking forward, there is a significant future Breeze update that we are working on and will be implemented, I believe, next month and possibly in September as well. Right now, all applicants and licensees that conduct transactions online through Breeze do not pay any credit card service fees to conduct that business. And beginning in August, that will change. And transactions with the fee completed online via Breeze, the applicant and licensee should expect to be charged a 2.3% credit card service fee. This fee has been previously paid by the board for all online transactions. And I believe we've been doing this since we've been on Breeze, and we've been on Breeze for about a decade. Several other boards within DCA have made this change, including Board of Occupational Therapy, Physical Therapy Board of California, and the Osteopathic Medical Board of California. The significance, of course, of this change will be that the applicant and licensee is paying the transaction cost, and the board will no longer be subsidizing those credit card service fees. This change should help the board's fund condition because, again, we'll no longer be paying that expense. In the fiscal year just concluded, we were budgeted to spend $85,000 on credit card service fees. And through fiscal month 11, we had expended $61,000 in real money on those credit card fees. So again, this is a change that will impact applicants and licensees. I want to be fully transparent about that. And they should expect to begin seeing this next month. There will be language that is clear in the transaction that informs the payer about what this is for and why. We will also be doing some messaging on our listserv, social media, perhaps right on our homepage with some sort of banner or other notification. We'll also be reaching out to stakeholders to make sure that they're fully informed as well. Any questions about that? Okay. And then just moving on to the actual statistics. In the last fiscal year, we had 176 requests for a letter of verification. That's a pretty decent number. The letter of verification is California licensed optometrists that are seeking a verification of that California license for purposes of licensure in another state. We received 80 applications for retired or retired volunteer. So if you're tracking here, I mentioned earlier that we had about 37 retired volunteer status optometrists. We received 17 applications for that status just in the last year. So that's almost half of that population was received just in the last year. Just something that I think I'm keeping an eye on. I don't know if it's suggestive of a trend maybe in terms of more retired and retired volunteer, but just something that we'll keep reporting at these meetings. Moving on to the actual data and the numbers, attachments A, B, and C. Couple things that I want to point out. On attachment A, which is our license applications received by type, you have the quarter year numbers for the prior fiscal year. You have, of course, the total number for the fiscal year, and then you have the prior year fiscal number. We, this past fiscal year, got more applications for initial licensure and issued more licenses than we had in the prior fiscal year, which is encouraging because we had been seeing a year-to-year consistent downward trend in initial licensure, which was concerning. So this is 1 year's worth of the data. I wouldn't say that it ends that trend necessarily, but of course it is encouraging to see it going in the right direction. So again, more initial licensure. I think your numbers here say 279 versus 222. So a significant increase from fiscal year to fiscal year there. That was also commensurate in or very similar in the renewals, because much like the initial applications for licensure had been going down, or renewals had also been going down over a 10-year period, we see that number go back up this past year. So it's encouraging. It's 1 year's worth of data. We need to keep a close eye on that. If you move to the next attachment, attachment B, these are our licensing numbers by type across the different licenses that we issue. You can see we're really close to 8,000 current optometrists. We may break that over this next year. Again, especially if we get 200 to 300 new applications. California is the largest state in terms of licensing optometrists. So that's just a number I wanted to point out there. If you look, moving on to the next attachment is attachment C, and this is organized by month throughout the fiscal year, and then by quarter throughout the fiscal year for all of the applications that we received. And so you can both see of the volume in the bar, and then there's, in some charts, you can't even see the line because it denotes a zero processing time. For example, like optometrist exam request, it's a 1-day processing time for an online app. So you don't really see the line there. But if you continue on, you'll get a better picture. For example, on the optometrist initial licensure, you can see, as we've talked about, the reform process that we've implemented has led to a majority of those being licensed in May and June, and you see that bar reflect that aspect of the program. Similarly, again, I would just like to remind folks about fictitious name permits. This is the one license type that we issue that is different than all the others, in that it is an annual 1-year license that expires on January 31. All of our other licenses expire at the end of the month, 2 years from the month it was issued in. And so you see a little bit of funky stuff happening with this chart. And I want to just try to explain why. So the license for an FNP expires on January 31. All of our renewals open 3 months ahead of time. And if you if you apply for your license, a new license, in say December, it's going to expire January 31, and your renewal is going to open. And so what we've been doing the last year is kind of holding on to, if I'm being honest, holding on to those applications that we receive in November and December, and then approving them February 1 or January 31, so that the applicant's not getting sort of double tapped, right? By having to pay the initial fee and then right away having to renew. This makes staff a lot happier too, because they don't have to answer the phone calls and the emails about, well, I just got my license. Why am I having to renew it so quickly? We did mention aspects of this in our sunset report about this license type being the only annual one, and maybe there's some way to adjust it or make it more synced up to the optometrist license. But that's why you see sort of the different levels in the bar chart for that license type. I think that's pretty much all the highlights that I wanted to share regarding the licensure stats. So I'm happy to take any questions or comments from members regarding them.
I've a couple of comments. Looking at for attachment A,
Yep.
and mostly with the renewals in each of the categories, it seems like each quarter, 1 through 1, 2, and 3, the number received and number approved are the same, but quarter 4, there's a there's a difference because they're not all going to be approved in that quarter that they're received. So that just stood out at me that they were that 1 through 3, and it's really just mostly for the renewals that those were exact matches across the board. And then it was just the Q4 that had that little difference. But the one that I was really interested was the optometrist renewal.
Yeah.
So last fiscal year, there was about 400 discrepancy between received and approved. And then this year, because this is the complete year, right? So there's like a 900. Do we have that many licensees renewing at the end of June? That those would be.
I think I see what you're pointing out, and I think we'd have to go do a finer analysis to answer that question, which we can do. In the interim, I can tell you that one of the factors that only happens in quarter 4 is the fact that it's the last quarter, right? And so your license expires at the end of the month, and then you may not actually act on it until later. So I think there's that issue that could happen just in terms of, again, the quarter 4 is at the end of that fiscal year. And then so if it's not approved until the next fiscal year, it would be captured in quarter 1 of the next year. But we'd have to do a finer analysis, I think, to really tease that out. Would you like that done on all of that license types, or maybe just start with one?
I was just curious if there is, as far as the numbers, because when you then also look at that overlap, you would think that quarter 1 would possibly have more approved than received.
It might be
for
higher
the
than, totally. That would make logical sense. Yeah. Yeah, I know. I see what you're saying. I think we'll have to just do a deeper analysis there and see what it shows us. It's a good eye.
Oh, this is Member Linden. I just wanted to say that I appreciate that you guys are looking for ways to make all of these processes more efficient, and I think that's great. I know that requires, you and the board staff taking the initiative, so I think we all appreciate that. You mentioned something about almost half of the volunteer retiree licensing applications coming from this past year. And if that does seem to signal a trend of maybe more people looking to have that retired volunteer status, I know that we had just talked about how, because they're still providing care, they should be maintaining the same CE requirements. But I wonder if the cost, I don't know if like the cost of the CEs is a burden, and if there's any resources that are available in terms of who might offer free CEs, or I'm just wondering if there's anything like that out there for people who are really just needing their licensure to volunteer.
When I've heard from ODs about the retired volunteer issue in CE, it hasn't been about cost. It's been more about, well, I just, I might only work a couple times a year, right? I might only, and 50 hours is a lot, right? If I'm not working as much as, a full-time job. So that's the context that I hear about it. That's the angle I hear about it from. In terms of cost, though, I think it is possible for you to acquire most of your CE at very low cost options. I mean, just as a reminder, we'll give you free CE for showing up at a board meeting. You're a retired volunteer OD, maybe you've got more time on your hands and you could be a subject matter expert for us, and we'll give you 12 hours of CE there. So there's 16 hours that you could get right there. Maybe you're a member of COA. I think they give you, hours, maybe as a benefit of being a member. There's certainly some paid opportunities there too. I've just not heard really from any corner that cost is an issue. I think one of the other issues with when it comes to a retired volunteer, and perhaps I should have mentioned this in the other item, is they can, of course, go back to full active status. A retired volunteer, they could drop that retired volunteer status and go back to just current and active. And to do that, they have to comply with the 50, 35, and 10. They have to comply with the CE requirements. So that would be trying to return your license from retired volunteer to active could get more complicated if we had different CE requirements for the two categories.
So just to kind of, I guess, expound on that, in the past, before it used to be 20 of the 50 hours, 25 of that had to be live and in person,
Yeah.
and the other 25 could be online or through books and magazines and stuff. Since we changed it, it now just has to be 25 live synchronous. So anyone can go online and find courses that are live and synchronous, and then the other 25s can be asynchronous. There's significant CE that's available that's free online, and then there's also some that you have to pay for. But the cost of obtaining CE is significantly less than it used to be because you now no longer have to travel or register for a lot of classes. You can there's so many different ways. So cost is significantly lower than what it used to be.
And Lillian, just if I could clarify one point, our law doesn't say synchronous; it says live and interactive.
I'm sorry.
Right?
Yes.
Live and so you're still thinking about ARBO meeting.
Yes.
Live and interactive is what our law says, and it is possible under our law, live and interactive, for you to take all 50 hours on a webinar, provided that webinar is a live and interactive one. What's an easy way of thinking about that? Is it recorded or not, right? If it's a live person speaking to you, that's probably going to be a live and interactive one. If it's a recorded webinar, then it wouldn't be. But you can take all 50 hours from the comfort of your couch. I would hope that 4 hours of that is watching our board meeting, though.
Thank you.
Any other questions about the stats? Okay. I think we've come, there's one more stat item, and I almost forgot to mention it. We're including it for the very first time in this board meeting packet. It is the California Law and Regulations exam data. I sort of feel like, why hasn't this been here? Why hasn't this been included? It feels like it should always be here. It's going to be here now going forward. So expect that, look forward to it. Just quickly, we'll share what you're seeing here. What you're seeing is a report that tells you how many people took our California Law and Regulations exam, both first-timers, repeaters, and overall. And while I only have this past fiscal year that we're showing today, this represents about a 10% increase in the passage rate from fiscal year to fiscal year. In 23-24, the passage rate was about 80.5%, I think it was. So more like about a 9% increase as opposed to 10. But there had been some conversation and some questions about why. Why is the passage rate dropping? The passage rate wasn't always around 80%. It used to be more around what you're seeing today. And so when you see a passage rate drop by 8 to 10 percentage points, it jumps out at you. Why is it? I don't think we know all of the answers to that question, but we did try to do two things in the last year, maybe three things in the last year to try to help improve this. One we initiated and executed and then published the revised law and regulations book that had not been done in 5 years. The second thing we did was we refreshed, revised, and then published the exam bulletin. And including in that exam bulletin are some practice questions for the candidates to consider and evaluate. And every licensing presentation that we give to students, we go over these questions as well. The third thing that we did that may help in some regard here is we reduced the waiting period in half. If you happen to have failed the exam, it was 6 months. It's now 3 months. So I think the combination of those three things probably helped increase this passage rate. It's not it's certainly not the only contributing factor, but very encouraged to see this back to a 90% pass rate. And so we wanted to share this, and we will continue sharing this at the quarterly board meetings going forward. Any questions, comments about, yeah?
I had a question. I like having this information. Is there a way that we receive the question possibly that has the highest number that responded incorrectly? Is there any kind of metrics from the testing, like the students' responses, where it can be looked at by the OPS?
You mean like for question 4, 80% failed it versus?
Right.
Yes, I have that data, and OPS has that data.
And then they can kind of
Yes, it
back
helps.
the strategy of that question.
Yeah, it helps evaluate it. That helps us evaluate the exams. It would probably be, we're not at future agenda items yet, but maybe we should have OPS come and fully explain that and what that all looks like. I spend a decent amount of my time every quarter. I review the exam, every question. And I have that, we have that data as to, percentage of folks that got it right, got it wrong. I believe it's even broken down as to, it's a multiple choice, right? A, B, C, D, the individual question, the answers that were given, what percentage of people chose A versus B versus C versus D. So probably would be good to bring OPS to a future meeting. And they're going to be coming anyways for occupational analyses and other things, but probably would make sense to bring them to do a deeper dive into that testing world and how it's developed. Was there any other things that you wanted to mention about? Okay. Very good. Well, seeing no further comments, questions from the board, we'll go on to the agenda item 10D, which is the regulatory update. There's only one item of the 5 regulations on this report to make a mention in terms of an update about, and that would be the radio frequency technology and devices regulation. The information in your packet is actually now, inaccurate because as it says here, it was at agency. Agency has approved the regulation. So the regulation has been approved by agency, and we will be finalizing it in the next week and then sending the final regulation to Office of Administrative Law for their consideration. So that was the only update on the regulations for item 10D. Happy to take questions, comments from the board. Public comment. Okay.
So now we're going to open it up for public comment. Anyone in the audience would like to comment on any of those items that we just covered? Please come on up.
How about there? Okay, I hope I didn't fall asleep on this one. I just want to clarify that now for applicants, the opticians, it's only a one-step process. They just pay one time, not the 2-step.
Yeah, that's correct. There was an application that they had to fill out and make a payment for,
Right.
and then they had to go back to Breeze and make another application with another payment.
Right.
Those 2 transactions have been combined into one, so it's one transaction, one application, one payment.
Beautiful. Now we know how to guide them. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's open up to the public and the phones for any comments.
WebEx is now open for public comment. If you'd like to make a comment on all of 10, please raise a hand by tapping that hand button at the bottom of the screen. Dial-in users dial *3 to raise your hand, and we will call on people in the order we have requests. As a reminder to our mobile device users, you may need to hit the ellipses button, that's the ... in order to find your hand. We're going to take just a few more seconds to see if we have a request for public comment. Seeing no request for public comment, do you wish to continue with the agenda?
Yes, please. Thank you. Thank you for all your help today, David. Okay, we're going to move on to agenda item number 11, future agenda items. Board members, do you have any items you would like to add to the agenda?
Before anybody says anything about a meeting in SoCal, we will, as I said earlier, we will follow up with more information next week to begin getting that travel and logistics locked in. But we are scheduled to be October 17th in Anaheim at Ketchum. It's gonna, well, their main campus is in Fullerton, but we're going to do it at their University Health Center, which I think is in Anaheim. So more details to come on that, but very much looking forward to taking the show on the road.
Any other items for future agenda? Board members? No. Okay. You approved anything else?
No.
No. Okay. So that concludes our meeting for today. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And thank you, audience, for always being very interactive, and appreciate it. Okay. Meeting is adjourned. We'll see you all.
Before you
in-
adjourn,
Yes.
Mr. President, do we want to do public comment on future agenda
Oh,
items
yeah,
online?
we sure do.
We do.
Okay. In the audience, any future agenda items? Seeing none. Okay. Let's go ahead and go to the phones and internet.
All right. WebEx is open one final time for public comment on future agenda items. If you'd like to make a comment, please raise a hand by tapping that hand button at the bottom of the screen. Dial-in users dial *3 to raise your hands, and we will call on people in the order we have requests. We're going to wait just a few more seconds to see if anyone has a request. Seeing no request, I think we're ready to continue.
Okay. Thank you very much. Meeting adjourned.